Sure, why not?
Sure, why not? Well, whether you're ready or not, I started. Oh, okay. Hello and welcome to the Supreme Council of the Master Geeks Lodge. I am Bill Kelly, the Great Horns. Whoops. Hey, I messed that up already. Bill Kelly, Hornswoggle the Great. Been out in the sun all day. You can see that if you follow us on YouTube. I posted today. Yeah, and with me, go ahead, Rob. Water.
It's Rob the Blacksmith. I'm just sitting here enjoying my cigar, reveling in the fact that life, the universe, and everything is necessarily what we may have thought it.
You can never have enough water. We are live from Phoenix, where it was a brisk 113 degrees today. Yeah, was out there out there with the map gas, trying to get the body bolts off the '84 Suburban, so I can switch it out and put my '47 GMC 1-ton panel truck on there because the 1947 GMC has no emergency brake. So that should be fun. Oh, excuse me. Cheers. And we'll be putting a 350 in there, which I got to get alternator, steering pump, belts, plugs and wires, and all the stuff. I think there's a
Yeah,
carb.
but I was just saying, if you walk around out at the ranch there, you could probably cobble together everything you.
Yeah. He sold me a 350 and the transmission. I'm sure he has a carburetor out there. The rest, you, yeah. Do you want a 40-year-old alternator? No, no. You want a brand new one. Do you want a 40-year-old water pump? Buy the new one. So yeah, and I loaded the truck. It's hot, and I'm old and fat and tired, so I didn't really unload it, to be honest. Left my vape pen in there and everything. Then I went over to Hannah's to let the dogs out and scoop the cat boxes and to give everybody water. And I Finn didn't wake up in time, so I didn't get over there till like noon. So, well, they're animals. They can only hold it so long. There were a couple accidents I had to clean up. So then I was like, I'll just sit on the couch with the dogs and cats for a minute.
Yep.
Yeah, an hour and a half later. Then I get home and my phone is crap, so I don't have the internet on it. Meanwhile, Ed's like, hey, do you want to play Fallout 76? Shit. Sorry. I fell asleep on the couch with the dog and cat grandkids. So I did get some shit done today. And then I brought the fenders home. We're at that point now where if I keep recycling aluminum cans at the rate they're going, a, a remade 302 in Phoenix, I did not price transmissions, but a remanufactured 302, you're looking at about 1,300 before taxes and delivery.
Yeah, about right.
So slap a transmission on there, you know. So I need about what, three of those? Because
Oh,
well, we took the Carson came out to help me, and then Joe showed up and kind of helped me do the last little bit. And then looking at it today, the bolt pattern to put the car transmission onto the truck engine doesn't exactly line up, even though it's Ford, which are synonymous for being universal.
Yeah.
So,
So
fuck it. Just get a 302. People want a V8 anyway. Or maybe a 289 straight six. You know, you don't have to push it to
you,
the envelope every single time. I should look this up. Oh, speaking of looking shit up, today is Fresh Veggies Day. Totally support of this. Although I am a fantastic carnivore, really in life, humans are omnivores. We eat both. I'm going to be vegetarian. I'm going to be vegan. Okay, that's fine. That's you want to do that. But humans have been eating meat for 200 million years. Good luck. Okay, so it's
yeah.
also World Sea Turtle Day. Love the sea turtles. National Fudge Day. Uh, it says Blooms Day. Oh no, that's never Monday. Today is Blooms Day, delving into the intricate tapestry of Dublin life. All right, and International Day of Family Remittance. Okay. Tomorrow is Apple Strudel Day. World Day to Combat. Hey guys, yeah. Oh, Ron is not going to be able to join us this week. Guy is running late. We were trying to stall, and then we were trying to get a hold of Ron. How you doing, Guy?
Pretty good. I just changed shirt really quickly because I was soaked. 114 outside. Man, how did
Yeah.
you work earlier?
I
It's
got
hot today.
I got there just before 7, and I just kept drinking coffee and water. Made
Uh,
sure I. It's not really going to the bathroom. I'll use Pete's phrase, dust control. Oh, that's good.
oh yeah.
But after a while, because I was mad, I got that new hat from work, and I was all happy because it was like a $30 or $35 hat that somebody had left, and the one guy found it, and it's like, hey, it's been 30 days. This hat is yours. And he's like, I don't want that. And I'm like, are you sure? And he's like, yeah. I'm like, dude, I'm working outside all the time. I would absolutely love this hat. He's like, you could have it. Awesome. And I made the mistake of leaving it outside, and during heavy wind, it got blown over. And the peeing cat got to it, so that hat got thrown away.
Ha 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 ha.
It's funny
They give
now.
it
It
and they
wasn't at
take
the
it away.
time.
They give it and they take it away.
Yeah,
It happens.
the universe is a give-take ratio scenario of karma, and it doesn't work in the ways that we think karma works. It's lawless. It's a lawless
I don't
hellscape.
know. It's
So,
all interesting. It's all interesting. Did you guys already start yet, or were you waiting for me? Or
well, we kind of were talking about cars today, and
oh
so
yeah.
Ron can't make it, so hopefully he'll be with us next week.
Okay.
He's got
That's
stuff
cool.
going on. So, yeah. All right. Life first, podcast second. It is what it is. We absolutely want him to be a part of it, but he's got shit going on. So,
No kidding.
oh,
Speaking
wait.
about cars.
Oh, yeah. Go ahead. Tell your story that you wanted to save for the podcast.
Speaking about cars. Hey everybody, you know me as automotive detective, savior of all pedestrians, full-time replicant, certified chicken jockey, and hopefully surfing with the alien race.
His list is getting longer and longer and longer.
It's gonna get longer. Bill knows as I do, and Rob knows as I do, and stuff like that. I do a lot of stuff in the automobile industry. Deal with classic cars, deal with new cars, deal with anything automotive. So I've been in the field for years, if not when back in high school, back in the days when Bill knew about me. So
You used
I've
to
gotten
call
pretty
him
good.
Gearhead Guy in high school
Gear-
because that's all you talked about was comic books and cars.
Comic books and cars, the two things I love really more than
Dude,
anything
there
in
isn't
life.
any more in life except for role-playing
Yeah,
games.
we're playing it. And I've gotten pretty good at it. And so with cars, what they call me the automotive detective is that you got to look at the car and find the history of it, kind of the archaeology of the car, because the car tells you a history. gives you an idea who it is. It sometimes has its own personality. So you got to look at the car. And the reason why I say this is that sometimes when you go to buy a used car, you got to look at, is the person that has the car now is the one that actually owned the car for a long time. So you look at, does the story add up? Did the two make sense? Does what you see in the car go with the person? So you could tell whether the person's lying to you, whether they don't know the history of it, they have no idea, clue what they're talking about, or they know the car intimately and they could tell you every little nook and cranny. Oh, I remember when I did this. I remember when I did that. So a lot of times my dad's looking for a vehicle. He's looking for a used vehicle because new vehicles, astronomical, way too much with the prices, and there's been a lot of recalls on new vehicles. So we haven't been looking for a new vehicle. So my dad wanted to buy a good used vehicle. So we went to look and he found one. At the price, would have been a giveaway. We were like, this is a decent price for what it is. And he was looking at a Yukon Denali.
Oh, okay.
So we looked at a Yukon Denali, someone all the family could fit in, air conditioning and stuff on it. And if you know, and you might know this, Rob, is that a Yukon Denali is on the same platform as a Cadillac. So if you get a Yukon Denali with a 6.2 in all the options, it's an Escalade, but in a GMC wrapper, but not at an Escalade price. So if you get a 6.2, you have a very nice vehicle. You have all the bells, the whistles, and stuff on it, but you don't pay the premium as for the Cadillac. So this is a 2017, the same year as my car, has 171,000 miles. In the advertisement, 6.2, doesn't sound bad. And my dad was getting for a dealer, from a deal at a wholesaler for around $13,000. It was 12 something with tax, license, and so forth. Not a bad price for what it is. So Dad wanted me to go and take a look at it, do what I always do and what I've been doing for years. So we went out, took a look at it, and drove all the way out there and stuff on it. It is what it was. I have to say, it was an honest vehicle. The vehicle showed what it was, until one point. We got it there, we looked at the car and so forth, and we looked at it, got inside, we looked at the miles and stuff, and the guy wanted us to get us in a test drive because he was pushing the deal as he should. And as they were talking and so forth, my dad talks and creates subterfuge for the guy. So as they're talking, cutting the shit and so forth, I'm really paying attention for the car. And it's got brand new tires on it. The whole car's detailed as a dealership as it's inside. Then I started really looking at the car, and I'm like, okay, let me ask some questions, but I'm not going to let on how much I know about cars. If you ever did a deal, sometimes you don't tell everybody exactly what you know. You want to see information. So me and my dad are talking. We took it for a test drive. I gave it the beans. And I took it on the freeway, and I hammered it. And we're like, huh, this is not as powerful as we expect for a 6.2, a big block, LS motor. I said, this doesn't have the power for it. Me and my dad look at each other like what's going on here?
Wait,
And he looks at it and goes, look at on there. So we took driving, and the guy says, oh, it's 6.2? Well, I think it's a 6.2. I don't know if it's 6.2. And he goes, I don't know, it could be a 5.3. And we went, what? So I went, okay, let's continue with the test drive. I put a footnote in that, finished the test drive, went down. My dad's talking to him a little bit. I decided to pop the hood. I popped the hood, and I looked at it, and I decided to look at the catalyst. And I went, General Motors, blah, 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 5.3.
Right there.
And I went, uh-oh. Okay. Not what's represented. That's like if I would have bought a Hemi Cuda. He's advertising a Hemi Cuda, and I walk there and I see the Cuda. It all has Hemi all over it. But when you pop the hood, there's a 440.
Wait a
Rob
minute.
understands. It's like, that's not what is represented. And I showed my dad, it's a nice car. It is what it is for a 5.3. But the value is no longer there because this is a lesser of a truck than an Escalade would be. So he put the ad. He put the ad as a 6.2. It turned out to be a 5.3. So I said, if he's lying on this thing right here to get us out of here, what else is he lying on? Then I said, Dad, it's got new tires on it. It's a selling point. However, that means this car came at this dealership with bad tires. So that means it could be the reason why the high mileage, and he put the tires on it. But I said, we really going to have to look at the brakes and really have to do an inspection. I really going to have to check this vehicle out because you could polish a pig, put lipstick on a pig, polish a turd. And we went, let's dig in more to it. The car was a nice car, but again, he wasn't as truthful as it'd be. So my red flags went up going, if he's willing to lie about this, and all of a sudden, remember that little machine I plugged into your Ford and we did the codes on your car, Bill?
Yeah.
I did
I had
that to
to
his
buy
car.
one of those so I don't have to pester you about it. Can you try to take away the thing?
Get a good one, because I plugged mine in, and all of a sudden he got kind of nervous. And Rob, trying to guess what I found.
On that one, with the
Yeah, I
5.3,
know.
it's a 17? It's a
17.
2017?
Yeah.
Oh, I've
171,000
got all kinds of things that are running through my head. That it had if you've got the right kind of unit, and you were able to pull historical codes, that it had potentially an airbag or two deployed, that it had a couple of other events that showed that perhaps it had a new or a reflashed computer in there.
That's what I was looking for. But what you know what, I was expecting something like that. But you know what was more scary than that? And he didn't realize that I knew that I didn't find any DTCs at all.
Oh, it showed no history at all?
No history at all.
Oh.
I
So either
expected.
he cleared them. I was going to say, either he cleared them before you got there, or, wow, man, that gives me a little concern. The other thing, when you talk about the new tires, and it's not the 6.2, it's a 5.3. Yeah, the next thing that popped into my head was, okay, front bushings, tie rods, all the rest of that. So you've got a whacked out front end, and it'll drive beautiful for the first 200 miles with a brand new set of tires on it until they start wearing in.
Yep, exactly, Rob. You got it nail on it. As like automotive detective is, the new tires can mask a lot of things of it. Because I look at the thread to see if it's towed in, towed out, because it's an all-wheel drive vehicle. You could go all-wheel drive, two-wheel drive, and so forth. And I can't tell the suspension. It drove perfect. And the tires had the little nubs on it. So I know these tires didn't have a lot of miles on it.
Yeah.
So I like the fact that you don't have to put tires on it. So sometimes people get tricked by it, but they don't realize new tires track good until the suspension wears the tires out. Then all of a sudden it starts pulling within 15,000 miles. So I looked at it. You can blow through brand new tires really quickly, and all that money that you saved on those tires, now you have to put in the suspension, and that popped up red flags. I went, got to look at this,
Well,
because I looked at, yeah.
Sorry, no, please continue. I was going to make a point after you're done.
Well, I looked at it and the history of it. I knew he was a car dealership, so he doesn't know the history. So the person who had it before, because we had the Carfax, and it had a little fender bender on the right quarter of it. So again, I started looking at it and I started really piecing it together. Whoever owned it was a mom, because there's little hints of kids back there, because I seen the crayon markings in the back seat. There were some on the headliner. So I knew this was a family truckster. I knew the mom was taking the kids back and forth to school. I knew where it was. Then they explained on the Carfax was a clean Carfax, was a good Carfax, but it had a little fender bender in the right rear. Okay. With GMs, this is a dual air system, so it has air conditioning on the back. That air conditioning in the back wasn't blowing cold at all. In fact, the air conditioning in the truck was really pushing, was really under a lot of weight, hardly blowing cold. And I went, oh, I better check this. So I crawled into the back to take a look to see how much, if I could see any damage and stuff to it. And I was telling my dad, like when he walked away from him, I said, we got to really look at this, because in the back quarters on those Escalades and Yukons and Suburbans, you have your secondary air system. They're expensive to replace. If damage was done at a quarter pound and did any damage to that air, it would knock the air out completely. They could have fixed the body, but now you're going to have thousands of dollars of trying to get the back air to work. And you have to rip out the whole thing where the black glass is, the inner panels out to get to it. And it was hit in one of the corners. They backed into something. You could barely see it. They did good work, but if you really know what to look at it, then you can go, I could see where the damage was, because they replaced everything except one piece, and it gave it away. The taillights. I looked at the taillights, and I could see the scuff where the impact was before, and I could see the crack in it. And the reason why they didn't replace the taillight is they're expensive LEDs like the Cadillacs. Those are like $189, $200 a piece. So whatever body shop that they did, oh, it's working, let's leave it alone. But you can see they backed into something, took a corner out of it, which probably took out right where the air handler is inside of it, which means they got some little bit of damage to it. So I told my dad, oh, we'll skip on this. First of all, he's not telling the truth about the engine. Second of all, he looked like he saw a ghost when I popped the machine inside. Then he popped his own right after I popped mine in. He goes, oh, I got a better one. I can show you this. And he goes through, and he goes showing all through the DTCs and stuff. And I grabbed it from him to look at the history, and none of it was there. So he didn't think he was under the assumption I didn't know any of this, any of it. I just nodded my head. Oh, okay, I see what you're talking about. Oh, I see what's up. So I told my dad, something doesn't seem right. Let's go away from this. The detective work, I looked at the car and I went, no, something's off about it, because he really wanted to sell it. He was really on the urge to sell it and so forth. So I told my dad, no, let's step away. There's too good to be true. Something's really off about it. Let's go. So we did, and I was on the way back through all the traffic and stuff on it.
It's funny you talk about that, because what was it? Friday or Saturday? Saturday. My son calls because his father-in-law is looking at a truck.
Mm-hmm.
And he wants to know my opinion. Well, what is a 2018 Coma four-wheel drive quad cab worth? And then he says, well, this one's got a reconstruct title on it.
Mm.
I said, well, you're the insurance salesman. You can tell me better what the insurance company is going to label that truck value at. Because in the marketplace right now, I mean, if it looks really good, 12, 13, 14 grand is not unreasonable. They end up calling me up 9:30 that night saying, hey, we bought the truck. We just finished up over here at the third-party DMV, and we're getting ready to bring it home. It's got no tail light.
Mm.
It's like, oh, okay. Well, we went over here to the O'Reilly's. O'Reilly's was looking at trying to help us out. And so I told my son, well, has it had damage before? Yeah, it got hit in the rear passenger side of the truck. We saw pictures of it, but it looks really good now. Long story short, they come to the house after buying bulbs, and I'm explaining to them that on the Toyota, every Toyota from about 99 on has a multifunction switch. So that's the turn signals, the light control, the hazard, everything is in that control stick. That switch is on the steering column, and it's a couple of $100. And those are prone to going out. They just go bad. This particular one has 100 and some odd thousand miles on it. Not on. They bring it over to the house. Now, this is my son's father-in-law, who is absolutely convinced that he is the smartest man in the room. For all the years that I've known him, he has always been bringing cars over here to ask me if I'll fix them, because he got a really great deal. And I go to look at it. I go to close the tailgate on the truck after I've identified that it's either damaged wiring, which I doubt, or it's that multifunction switch, because the backup lights don't work. And either do the brake lights work, but the running lights do not.
Oh,
they
man.
function switch. So I go to close the tailgate. Damage was on the passenger side rear. Driver's side rear is missing the cup and the bushing, the plastic bushing that fit on the hinge. Mm-hmm. So as I'm going to close the tailgate, he's like, oh, wait, you got to lift up the tailgate and do this to get. Okay, close the tailgate. And I look, and I could probably slide a dime to the gap on passenger side rear. And I could probably pass 3 nickels down the gap on the driver's side at the tailgate. I said, well, it looks really good, but I'll tell you right now, your bed is shipped. What? What do you mean? Let me show you. And then he said, well, how much would it cost me to get that switch done? Could you do that switch? I'm not going to do that switch. I play with my own uh, airbags. I
Electrical
don't work on
nightmare.
anybody else's airbags because the whole column has to come apart to do that. And this one had all of the extras. This one had the full control steering wheel. So it's like, nope. I said, well, I'll take it to my buddies down on Van Buren. Take it to it. Go for it. Have them trace the wiring and everything while you're down there. It's going to cost you $1,000. Have them do it because that's what you need.
Yeah.
And he looked at me. He's like, $1,000? Oh yeah. Well, the dashboard. The only damage, the accident was to the rear passenger of the bed, except both airbags deployed. And the entire dash the dash pad and everything has to be replaced. So these guys put a new column in, I'm assuming, to the truck, but they didn't put the dash pad. And so they were convinced, my son's father-in-law was convinced he's going to go down and get a dash. You can just pick up a dash for a couple $100 and just have them install a new airbag on the passenger side. And I'm thinking to myself, well, it makes me curious because if the impact was to the rear quarter, but it set off both front airbags, there was additional damage to the front of the truck that you're not aware of.
Yeah.
Yep.
Not getting anywhere near that one. He brought me one time, an early 2000s Suzuki GSX. Nice little road bike, little street bike. And he wanted me to see if I could fix it. So I'll take a look at it. Last time I ever looked at any of this stuff, I pulled the plastics off. The frame was bent on the motorcycle. When I pulled the airbox out, about 3 ounces of oil came out of the airbox.
Ooh.
Then I started asking him what happened to the bike. Did you ever ride the bike? He says, first thing he told me, yeah, I rode it. It rode great. I said, came back to him. I said, so you rode the bike. How did it ride? Well, it didn't have much power. Oh, okay. So you've got at least one bad cylinder on this 2-cylinder engine. You've got a bent frame. And then I went ahead and pulled a Carfax on it, motorcycle fax.
Mm-hmm.
He bought it in 2020. It hadn't been registered since early 2017.
Oh, wow. It's been off the road.
Plastics were not the right plastics for the bike. The pegs had been broken off on one side. So I looked at my son. I said, he needs to come and get this thing. I'll put it back together again. I'm not doing anything to it. Why is that? Well, pulled the carburetors off, and somebody had done the hot fix of trying to open up the jets and drill out some of the ports to make the bike run faster. Told him that this was a track bike. Somebody slid it in 2017. Went and bought all the bits and pieces to try and sell it. Sold it to somebody who sold it to your father. And then he comes and he says, well, I'll just get somebody to put a new motor in. I said, this motor and transmission is one piece. You have to replace that whole assembly. If this was one of the...
This isn't a Harley.
This was one of well, no, if it was one of the... during those years, they used to have a bunch of the race bike replicas. And they would make only a few of them.
Like the cafe bike?
Right. If it was one of the Reposols or one of those that had all of the kit from the factory, not one that somebody had done themselves, but if it was one of the special editions from the factory, I told him if it was one of those, I would say by all means have that motor repaired because that bike has value. It's a collectible, special edition. This one is not that. You've got about $500 in usable parts on this. What I would do if I was you is I would go find one that runs, strip the good parts off of this bike, get rid of it, have those parts as spares for the other. Oh, I'll take it to my friend. Good luck. It's been that way for as long as I've known him. He showed
Yeah.
up one night, 11:30 at night, with a Toyota Sienna van, and his friend, a mechanic, had fixed it for him in L.A. But it got here and it wasn't working. Half of the sensors were bad. It's 11:30 at night. He wants me to fix it so he could take it and they can go on vacation the next day. It's like, what time is it? I couldn't even get parts for this.
Yeah.
This is going to take days for me to even figure out what's broken.
Yeah.
Well, I'll pay you for it.
I
No,
gotta
you won't, because I'm not doing it.
Yeah.
No, that happens so much. In my field as being an automotive detective, and Bill knows this, I have stories upon stories where I had to give good people bad news, and it wasn't me who sold them this. It wasn't me
Nope.
on it. And I mean, and we're not talking. They didn't spend hundreds of dollars. They spent hundreds of thousands of dollars on vehicles that they got. And I looked at it and said, "Oh, wait a minute. What about this? Because this doesn't quite check out. Doesn't make right." And here's a story I'll tell you, Bill. Because remember when I was running the AutoZone and not the AutoZone, the O'Reillys and Fountain Hills back in 2008.
Yeah.
This was a big thing, and I got to see it. And somebody brought me in as for my opinion, because I've dealt with classic cars. I've dealt with cars from the get-go, and so I know my way around cars. I know the history of cars. I know that on it. So I got to look at bought from an auction, and I can't remember if it was Barrett Jackson or Russo Steel, a prominent auction. $83,000. I think it was a 53. Ron, help me out with this. The 5-window pickup trucks was 53, 54, 55.
Yeah, you're
Where they had the
talking
5
about.
It could be 55.
Yeah, the
55.
five. You're talking about the 5-window cab. Yes.
Yeah, the 5-window
He talks
cab.
about them
Okay.
all the time.
Okay, now this is in your wheelhouse, Bill, so you got to understand when I'm going to say this because now you have experience with it. He bought one, burgundy red, beautiful, leatherette interior done. It had gold leaf in the dash. It had a built ZZ 350 motor in it, a crate engine in it, all running gear and everything. And I had a friend who had a shop up in Fountain Hills that restored and dealt things with classic cars. And I get a call when I'm doing a service call for O'Reilly's. He goes, "Hey, I need your opinion. Come and take a look at it, and I want to see if you see what I see." So he doesn't tell me nothing about it. I'm doing service calls out there, so I decide to drop by his place. Beautiful truck, had nice 18-inch chrome wheels, chrome everything, beautiful. $83,000 worth. The interior looked immaculate. And I looked at the car and go, "Hey, that's a nice truck. Who'd you get the truck?" Oh, it's a customer of his. He goes, "Look at it from the top and tell me what you think." And I look from the top and I go, okay. I decide to pop the hood, and I pop the hood and I looked at it and I go, that's strange. So I started looking at the truck. I said, "That's strange." And he goes, "What do you think?" I said, "Something's off." And he goes, "Oh, you're pretty good." He goes, "You want to look under it?" And I go, "Sure." So he lifts the truck up. Now, this goes into your wheelhouse, Bill, because what I'm going to say next, it's not to do, okay? It's a 55 5-window. They spent money on it. They took all the rust of it. It had new fenders and stuff. So they put money into this truck. Underneath of it, it's supposed to have a new chassis underneath of it.
Yeah.
When we lifted it up, it had a 68 to 72 C10 truck chassis. So it's not the regular chassis for that 55.
Slightly modern.
So it has the more modern has the disc brakes and everything on it. Then I looked at it. Then I started looking at it. Then I saw it. The mounts for the pickup truck had 2 on one side and not on the other. What they did was they didn't transfer the mounts. The truck is sitting off. So when I looked at it, I was like, why it was so weird? It's the tracking of the tire on one fender was more in line, and the other tracking on the other fender was more inward. So it looked like the truck shifted. Okay? Then I go, "Well, they didn't mount this truck. You only have 2 bolts. You don't have the 4, and they're using the C10 mounts. They didn't cut the mounts off the other frame to transfer it over or move the mounts correctly." He goes, "Keep looking." And he just smiled at me. He goes, "Keep looking, keep going. Tell me what you see." I started looking at it, and I'm like, okay, it's got airbags, nice running gear, coil-over suspension, a 4-link in the rear end. It's C-notched. Then I went, oh, shit. And I looked at it. And he looked at me and goes, "Yeah, what do you see?"
So it's
I said,
all along. Okay.
"They C-notched the frame." And Ron already knows where I'm going with this. They C-notched the frame and they put plates on the side, but they didn't gusset it. They didn't box the frame.
Gotcha.
So you have a very expensive suspension, and they cut a chunk away at the frame. In a rear end collision, that frame is going to fold up like crazy. And it has a rosewood bed. Brilliant thing. So everything looked good from above,
But
but when
underneath,
you get down below, the steering, the power steering, and the everything off was misaligned. So the steering shaft that they had was rubbing up against the frame because it was the body shifted up on it. Oh, he needed thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of work because the car was not tracking. The owner was experienced. The car wasn't tracking properly. He couldn't steer properly. It kind of wandered a little bit, and I'm like, no wonder your cab is flexing because it's only bolted on two sides. The cab is not on the truck, so you're having a little resistance on the steering column because it's rubbing towards the frame because it's kinked outward. And they
you're
had to notch the front of the frame horse for the radiator support.
you're gonna put
And
extra.
you know this, Rob.
Yeah, you're gonna put extra stress on the drivetrain, all the transmission, the engine, all that stuff, all your tie
All
rods
that
and that.
stuff.
Oh, going. I wanted to make a point earlier, but like being the car detective, one thing I learned, and then you said you already did, is yes, always take a new car you're thinking about buying out on the freeway, because the front end could be fine at 35 miles an hour, but it's 65 miles an hour.
Mhm.
Oh my God!
And,
I need
and
a
no,
whole new. I need new tie rods. I need new. Yeah,
you take it out. But a scrupulous person or non-scrupulous person would have did put new tires on it, and you would have never known that. Because the tires would have rode true and it would have rode like a new car because it's taken up the slop from the suspension, like what me and Rob were talking about. That's what you take it on the freeway, exactly what you're doing.
yeah,
But the new tires would have masked that to a
for a
point
bit. But if it doesn't
for a
have new
bit.
tires on it, that's going to happen once you get up to over 55.
Correct. Automatically,
The hell
automatically.
is going on with my eyes today? Sorry.
So we looked at that and we're like, man, this car's unsafe to drive because on top of it, you only have two bolts holding it on the cab on one side. And he's doing what you're doing, Bill. He's taking an older truck, putting it in there, but they did it cheaply and they threw it together. So what they did was they spent all the money on it. They polished the turd. They put lipstick on a pig, sold it, got 83,000. And if you looked over the chassis really quickly and didn't know what you were looking, it looked great because everything was nicely painted.
Yeah.
But when you looked at it and you go, whoa,
Huh.
then we started noticing the gusseting, how the brake lines were done. Because as I remember, you have hose line and so forth. So they replaced it with new line, and like that's okay. But then you notice it's a little bit off on how they did it, how they had to route it, because the frame and the body doesn't align.
Yeah.
So you pay $83,000 plus shipping, destinations. So he's probably into it for almost $90,000, and you still have to put more money on it because now you got to lift that body up, make new mounts, put that body on, line everything, and fix everything, gusset the frame and everything that they should have done what he paid the money for.
It. Yeah. I'm sorry that happened to that person, man. That sucks because it's one thing to buy an older vehicle at a really great price, and what's the old adage? Don't look a gift horse in the mouth.
Yeah.
They got bad teeth. You're gonna have to, deal with that because
Yeah, because they could have to deal with that later.
yeah. Well, okay. California, you're going to get a little bit of rust, but depending on where in California you live, that can be lessened. The more west you live, the less the more like Arizona it is. Where with Arizona, you're going to have very little rust on a vehicle unless it's completely neglected. But all of your rubber and plastic is fucked. There, I said it. So the more, and New Mexico, same thing. the further north you go, north and east, it seems to me, and even south, because I watch a lot of Jennings Motorsports. I've watched like all of his videos. I can't wait to see him get that CUDA put back together and running again. But he's from Arkansas, and he had a what was it? Like a Plymouth or a Pontiac Cranbrook, like a '53. Yeah, it was like a four door. It was a nice looking four-door sedan, and it had been left on its side in a ravine for like 60 years, and he pulled it out, which us locally, wait, there is a dude called That One Channel here locally in Arizona, and he goes around mostly by Globe and places like that, and he points out all of these wrecks. I have a trailer and a winch that's 9,000. There's nothing stopping us from going and getting those.
And picking them up, we just need a place to put them. That's the trick. Because you got to put them someplace.
Problem solved.
Problem solved, yeah. But you know, just for the audience members,
excuses, guy.
Just for the audience members, it's just a lot of people realize that sometimes, like buying a salvage car, it's not a problem. But buying a salvage car, you gotta realize that you're gonna inherit problems with that car, if not now, later. You have to know what you're getting into.
Yeah.
If you can fix them and work on them at your leisure and know what the damage is, you can get a deal on a salvage car. But that being said,
you have to say that like Dr. Evil. If you're going to get salvage cars, you're going to have salvage problems.
Yep.
I don't mind buying a salvage '72 Ford F-250 with one of the last of the 390 Ford Edsel motors in it, and it's got salvage title because it's been in a rollover and it's fun. I can do all that work. Somebody comes up to me and says, "Hey, I've got a great deal for you on a 2018 Bentley. It's a salvage title. It went through a hurricane, but I can get it for you for $20,000." I'm going to tell them I wouldn't give you $5,000 for it because it's not worth it to me to go through what is going to be the necessity, and I'm still going to have a salvage title Bentley, no matter how nice I make it. If I've got a '72 Ford F-250, even with a salvage title, if it's done up nice and right, somebody will give me 10 grand for it because they want one. And they're less concerned about a salvage title on that vehicle.
I'll give you a perfect example of this, and sometimes buyer beware. Is I was working at a shop one day, and I've been a parts jockey for a long time. So a customer comes in, and I remember this was back in 2000, maybe 2001, wanted parts for his Mustang, his GT Mustang, for his V8. He wanted the wires and stuff, everything for it. So I got him the stuff on it, sold it to him. A few hours later, he comes back pissed. You sold me the wrong blah, blah, blah. You know what I mean? You sold me the wrong stuff. You don't know what you're doing, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, wait a minute. This is for that stuff here. What's wrong? He goes, well, none of this fits. It doesn't work. It's got extra stuff. And I went, extra stuff? And I go, what do you mean? He goes, well, it's got 2 more wires that are extra. And I went, really? Do you have the car outside? He goes, yeah. I go, show me your car. Show me your car.
Show me your 6-cylinder.
You already got it. When I went outside, the car was in GT trim. Somebody had converted a 6-cylinder to look like a GT. So from the outside, it had the rims and everything on it. But when I popped the hood, I'm like, no, that's a 6-cylinder, 3.6. This is not a GT. So I was like, well, is it a GT with another engine in it or what? So I decided to look at the catalyst, and it said 3.6. This was never a GT.
Yep.
This poor kid spent his hard-earned money on wanting to get a GT, and somebody had doctored up a V6 to look like a GT, like a nice GT, to make it look more than what it was. And it was a 6-cylinder, and I told him that, and I showed him where it was, because he didn't know what he was looking at. So it was his first car. Kid spent his money on it, and I said, you got this is a V6. He got a hell of a deal. I said, it looks like a GT, but I said, this is not a GT. It's not going to have the horsepower, nothing with it. He had no idea. No idea. I felt sorry for him. So I said, I can return that stuff for you and stuff on it. But you have a V6 right here. There's just a catalyst. You have a 6-cylinder right in there. But when you looked outside, looked like a GT. The taillights, everything, put the tail on it. Somebody did, and I asked him, is it salvage or is it wrecked? Good thing it wasn't. It had a clear title. But for someone to go through all that trouble and put a paint job on it, that tells me something's not right with this car already from the get-go.
Somebody was flipper. They knew that they could take a nice 6-cylinder, GT it out, and find somebody who didn't know any better, and tack another $3,000 onto the price. And they may not have had to repaint it. They may have just cut and buff and a sticker kit, and now you've got a GT. Yeah, those were the worst ones. I used to, when I worked for O'Reilly's in the catalog department, I used to have to do all the updates catalog and deal with the stores. The ones that I always ran into the most trouble with were the poor guys that had CJ5s. 72 to 79. For a time there, you had I had to try and educate some of the counter guys over the phone. You need to look at the rear axle when these guys come in with the CJ. If it's got a round cover, it's an AMC. If it's got the squared off cover, that's a Dana. You also need to make sure, if it's an early Jeep, you need to make sure they don't have any hubcaps on it. You need to look and see if it's a 2-piece rear axle.
Yep.
And those were some of the worst ones, because the vehicles, the stock trim are great. The AMC is a great axle. Works perfect. The 2-piece axles are great axles. But you get a young guy who buys this Jeep. He's read all the magazines, wants to put a 4-inch lift kit on it, do all the rest of the stuff, put 35-inch tires on it. The AMC 20 with the 2-piece axles won't let.
Yeah.
And you have to help these guys out. I had a guy that I worked with who was the walking encyclopedia of Chevrolet C and K series trucks. And he could quote you chapter and verse. In this year, they had 3 different parts for this, and they did 2 different parts for that. And if you had this, you need to get the VIN number between this and this. Like, great. If I got those calls, it'd be, hang on just a second, I'm going to transfer you.
Ron has a 86 Jeep. It's red. It's fun to ride in.
Yeah.
Oh, they're great. But that's part of the archaeology. What Rob said, it's the archaeology with the cars to find out what it is. Because the car will tell you what has been done to it. If you look at the car, it's like an archaeology. When you start looking at, like, even your dad's old truck, I can look at it and go, okay, I can see when things happen, when it happened, and how it happened. So you pick up like a little history lesson of it by looking at it. So when I look at classic cars, you have to know what the classic car is to know what's the original, to see what's been changed. So a lot of times when you look at it and you go, no, that's not supposed to be on there. Why is it on there? Then you find out, oh, because of this or that or something. And is it a good thing or a bad thing? Because I'll give you another example. On another one spent $53,000. No, you're gonna like this, Ron. This happened at Russo.
Sorry, but
what?
you've. I know you and Rob probably have the same flood of memories, but the way you're talking just fills me with my father, because it was just Father's Day. Like and subscribe with my dad. Some moron decided to.
Well, this one here happened we were at the Russo and Steel, and somebody bought a 1970 SS 454 Chevelle convertible, nicely restored, white with black stripes with red interior. Beautiful car, and it was a nice couple that bought it. Apparently, he came into some money, maybe did a financing or whatever. Was buying a gift, something to enjoy their life with.
Good for him. Beautiful
car, nicely restored, and it looked like the car that was done for Charlie's Angels, like in the movie that they drove. It was done like that, white, black stripes, red, nice interior in it. And I come looking at it because I appreciate the car. It was done really nicely, and he had it out, and he just actually paid for it, and he was all over it. So I love talking to the owners just to get the word and go. And I found out he's the one that bought it. He introduced me to his wife. Beautiful, nice people. He goes, "Go ahead, look at the car. Let me know what you think." Because I started looking at it, and I started looking at the engine and stuff on it. Then I go, "Oh, you got a lot of repurposed new stuff on it." So I said, "It's fully restored. That's not unheard of." But it tells me that the car had a rotisserie restoration. This car was blown apart and put back together with new pieces or reproduction pieces. So I started, okay, so this car's been blown apart. Let me look at it and see what we have left and what's there. So I decided to look at the engine. Then I went, okay. So I started looking at other things on the engine.
Your
And I
facial
noticed
expression
something.
says it all, guy. What
I
the
looked
fuck?
at it. I looked at it. And I said, and I questioned him, hey, is this numbers matching? He goes, yeah, I was saw with original paper, it's numbers matching. I said, how? And he goes, what? And I go, well, I look down over here and I look at the plate right
Well,
behind the
you
alternator.
just grind them off and put them the numbers you want on there. Easy peasy, lemon squeezy.
Well, there's no numbers on there. The block was machined, but they took the numbers off. But they at least they didn't have the decency to restamp it. I said, then I decided to look at the back of it, and it's a date-ish block. But I'm like, well, wait a minute. We can't identify that this actually belonged to the car. It's a Chevelle block, but we don't know if it's exactly from this one. I said, it's so there's numbers matching. Then I started really looking at it, and I went, oh, there's some stuff that the dash. Then I looked at the dash, and you know what astral ventilation is, right, Rob? There are little things on the bottom that have vents.
Yeah.
That you have them in 1970. His was missing it. So I went, why? I said, it's convertible. It should have had astral ventilation on it. Then I noticed that the dash, when it was taken out, stuff on it, was replaced with a new dash. So I started questioning whether or not this was an SS or whether or not they had converted it and added some other stuff to it. Because I looked at it, I'm like, well, it is a big block. It has some of the tail care on it. But I said, this could have been a 396 doctored up to be a 454. And it was missing the astral ventilation because they had new panels in it. And I'm like, well, why did they put these panels in and not put the astral ones with the dials in it? I said, this doesn't quite add up because it should have had certain options that all of a sudden were omitted. And I went, okay. I told him what I found. I told him to take a look at it. And I just told him, well, you might want another person to check up on this and so forth. Long story short, I'm going to cut it short.
No, you don't. You never cut it short.
I never cut it short. They were under investigation for title and other frauds. I don't know why, if it was that one in particular or other ones in particular. I looked at it and I said, something's not right here. But they were, now they're no more. Russo and Steele are no more. I don't know what the outcome of it. I heard there was a class action lawsuit or something on it. But it makes sense because I saw the car there and we didn't. Me and my brother went, this is not, something's not right. And we know about Chevelles. We love Chevelles. I know the distance and the fenders and stuff with it. And I said, well, wait a minute. It's missing stuff that it should have. It's no longer there. Why is it gone? Couldn't they put it back into it? And what any reason would you take the system out unless you're trying to change it to something else? Or you took the interior out of another car that didn't have it. So that led me to believe.
Go ahead.
Well, it led me to believe that you can't always trust a book by its cover. You have to do your archaeology. You have to look at the car and stuff for what it is. Because your car tells the truth. The person may not. But if you know the history, like you could pick at it, the car will tell you the truth of what it is. It will never lie to you. The owners will. But when you look at the car, you look at what it does, how you look for the clean spot, so to speak. If you see a starter that's brand new and all the rest is oily, you know what that tells me? He replaced the starter.
Yeah. It's funny how people's relationship with cars varies human to human. Like you have the people that I just got it detailed again. Dude, you just washed that thing like last week. Well, no, I got her detailed again. Okay. I want my girl to look good. You see, I never wash mine because I like mine to be dirty. She's a dirty girl.
You like it
She
dirty.
works hard and she's dirty because You know, in a lot of ways, a man's vehicle is sometimes a reflection of the female he desires in life.
Yeah.
Not necessarily what the car looks like, but how, what is it? Wagons and boats, which eventually became ships and then eventually became cars. They're all female, even if they have male names. Even Wreck of the Edmund Fitzgerald, she was the Edmund Fitzgerald, and that it comes up in the movie Summer Rental with John Candy and Rip Torn, two absolutely fantastic actors that we don't have with us anymore. I think Richard Jenner was the bad guy, wasn't he?
Yeah.
The crazy dentist dude. Anyway, the they name ship, they give ships female names so that men remember to treat them with respect and to be gentle with them and to not be rough.
Well, you're right, because here's a little psychological thing, and has something to do with cars, but men with cars is funny. And just like you were saying, Bill, some men buy cars because they want a particular car and they love that particular car, and they do everything with it. They modify and so forth. Other men use it strictly only for a status symbol, and they don't know nothing about cars. I'll give you an example. Some people will buy a car like a Rolls Royce. They don't want to buy a Rolls Royce because it's not economical. You can buy any car to go to A and B. It's a status symbol. I have a Rolls. I got them in Surrey. It's not a practical thing because these are going to cost hundreds of thousands of dollars to fix. It's just a status statement. It's a car. Ultimately, it's a car. You spent a lot of money for it. It's not going to take anything on it. And
Sorry.
it's an overpay. You're paying much more for a BMW. That's what Rolls Royce is. So it's just pure status. They don't know how to fix it. They don't know nothing about it, but they'll let you know that they have it. So in the classic car industry, somebody will buy the Hemi Cuda, will not know nothing about the Hemi Cuda. I have a Hemi. I have that Cuda over there. See, that's my Cuda.
Sure.
And not know, never, they never drive it. They never have it. It's like a beautiful woman on their arm. They have her there just as an ornament, but don't really know it. And that's the psychology is I have it, you don't. You want it, you can't have it. And the true car guy, like you or something, will have a sentimental value. It's like your truck. It's like your dad's truck, Bill. That truck is more sentimental to you and for what it represents than to anybody else. So that truck has more value to you and what it represents. To another person, oh, that's just an old truck. Oh, it's a beater. Who cares? Let's send it off to the junkyard. Who cares?
It's
But to
leaking
you,
oil and transmission fluid. Yeah, she's leaky.
she's leaky.
She's a
She's
moist
leaky.
girl.
But it's yours. So you always have that appreciation for another person to say, oh, that's a piece of junk, scrap it.
It's the
But
it's the half-ton 48 GMC you're talking about, because Pete and I were talking about it today.
Mhm.
He's like, oh, that's not going to fit on there. No, dude, we're going to cut it down. Well, it won't look original. I don't give a shit if it looks. This is a funny car at this point, but the sentimental value is through the roof, because even though the 66 was his, we didn't work on it. Well, we'll get to that later.
Yeah.
We didn't work on it a lot as much. He worked on that on his own more, but then when dementia kicked in, then he started taking it apart. And anyway, I have everything but the bed, and as soon as I get that, it's all going back together. So, well, I mean, I guess I could rattle can it on my own and do a baby blue and a white. It's not going to matter. Just he didn't give a shit. He'd be like, yeah, that's great. You see how I painted it in primer with a spray can? It looks awesome. And people would stop him at the gas station. That looks great. Thanks. Some crazy person told me the truck looks great. Dad, just enjoy it. They're just being nice. Okay.
no, actually, because what it is like your dad's truck. What you got to realize with it is people appreciate the classics no matter how they look, because you don't see a truck running around like that. You see all the new Silverados; they all look the same. They're cookie cutter. and you see a classic that has lines, has styles.
Yeah.
Who cares if it's a rust bucket? Somebody's like, I haven't seen one of those in years.
It's the
They're
30.
happy to see it.
They are. It's the 30-year disconnect that no matter how much you convince yourself, oh yeah, the '60s wasn't 20 years ago. It was 60 fucking years ago. So that truck is almost as old as the year of its birth.
Yeah.
In a sense.
That truck is only missing cherry bombs and 1 3/4 inch tailpipes, because that would give it the proper sound. Somebody today, a new kid today, would be going down there and wanting to put 3-inch exhaust on it with turbo,
Lower it. I want to lower it.
and all the rest of that shit. But for what we grew up with, the perfect exhaust for that truck would have been the perfect exhaust that your old man would have been looking for after he got home from Vietnam. It would have been 1 3/4 inch pipes with cherry bombs. And he would have taken it to a buddy's shop and had him put the cherry bombs on it, and they would have been heating it up with a set of torches.
Yeah. And he would have been like there going, no, I want it done like this. I want this clamp over here so that I can. Next thing you know, he's standing there in coveralls with goggles on.
And he'd be heating up those mufflers so that all the fiberglass packing gets blown out, so that when he drives down the road, everybody knows.
He would not part with that truck, and she wanted to. Again, that's a long story that we're not going to talk about because I don't want to hear about it later. So, but with the Fords that I've got out there, I'm now very worried about this putting the car transmission on the truck engine. Maybe I should just put it. Fuck it. I'll just put it all back together, bolt it all down, and we'll just find a '49 truck. we'll rebuild it. But he got one of his trailers done, and I'm gonna go out there tomorrow morning because I got there before 7, and the gate was locked, and there were no dogs, and I'm like, wow, they're all still asleep. And she did message me pretty late because I slept through the message, but at like 3 a.m. when I got up, I was like, oh, she messaged me at like almost midnight. They're probably not going to be awake when I get there. So when I did finally wake up, I do chores and laundry and stuff like that. I couldn't leave until... It's in the winter in Arizona and Phoenix. You can... leave laundry in the washing machine, no problem in the winter. In the summer, not a good idea. You'll have to wash it a second time with vinegar. Yeah. So I was like, fuck it, So I got that in the dryer, and then I took off. And when I got there, the gate was locked, which, okay, I got a key, no problem. But there were no dogs. Now, I know that the husky, because he's so hot and he's getting older, he's at her Judy's son's house, because it's just easier. And the other 3 didn't come up to the gate. I'm like, wow, they're all still asleep. So I opened the shop and I got tools and the map gas, and I laid underneath the Suburban for a while, heating up the bolts. And then I kind of like used the front of the late 40s vehicles, the bumper bolts onto the frame. So you've got these. We're gonna have some left over because I only need so many, and then we can make like a halberd or maybe anyway. So good, nice long sword. It's gonna be awesome. But until then, that 84 Suburban is an Illinois truck close to the lake. Mm-hmm. Well, you saw the video today, didn't you?
Yep, I saw the video today.
There's no floor. Yeah, it's Flintstones delete package.
Yeah. Now you're getting close part to ripping that thing off. The next things I would be doing to that is you did you already break loose the bolts to hold the body. You cut around there on the floor, but were you able to get the chassis mounts out? No. Okay.
I
I can
spent
see
5 hours on it today, guys. Sorry.
that's okay. Because the next thing is we got to do that, and before that, you cut the roof, drop that steering column out, and do a little bit of stuff with the brake pedals and stuff because you don't want to lift that body off with any of that still in there. You don't want to damage that because that's money for you and it'll save you time later.
I cut one of the. Okay, so it's kind of like a car where you have A, B, C, D with the posts. So I kind of cut C all the way through. And I was like, yeah, empowered, grinder. Wait a minute. It's the middle of June. If I cut this all off now and remove the hood, we're not going to have any shade working. All right, I got to calm down.
Yeah. Yeah, I would actually work on the bottom trying to dislodge all the bolts from it, the fuel lines and everything, pull the steering column off, get everything else, the bits and pieces that you could take, sell, or use for your truck out of there. Yeah. Because once you start pulling the body, you cut the top off and you got to get the base. If it's anything still attached, you're going to wind up ripping it up as you take that body off.
Yeah.
You got to.
Well, Joe wants the body off, and Pete agrees that it's easier to deal with taking the engine and the transmission off the frame if you have the body off. Okay, but still, this thing was sitting in salt water forever. It's rust. It's solid. It's just disgusting underneath.
Just be careful. Just be careful when you do the headlight torch. Don't cut into the frame. When you're doing the floor, just make sure you don't cut into the frame. You can cut the mounts off. You can cut that. Usually, I would work from underneath up or look at it because the whole part is you want the frame good enough to put it underneath your car. But if you cut a chunk out of it, then you weaken the frame, and now you got to gusset, and it kind of takes the whole advantage of putting that frame underneath your car. So with the floor, and also too, if you could cut those parts off, the purchase. So when you lift the body up, the body's going to want to tilt back on that one because I think it's like a wagon. But once you cut the roof off, when you cut it off, you might be able to cut it in half, right where the back seat is, and take that chunk off and take the center section off. I think that would be the best way is to, when we get ready to do it, we cut the body in half, cut the top off, lift the top off, lift the back section off, and lift the center section off there, and just cut the floorboards and everything up.
Because today he was like, do you have somebody to help you cut down the roof? I was like, I want to do it myself. And I said, oh, Rob will probably help me. Yeah, that'll be fine. And I'm like, after we measure it and grind it down, I was hoping to do it here with the gantry. I didn't tell him this because he was talking about other stuff. I was hoping to use the gantry crane because that would be, it's already huge and it wouldn't take much to wheel it over there, or easier, take the Suburban over to the crane because it rolls. But Joe wants all the tires. It's Lando Calrissian and Darth Vader. This deal is I'm Lando. This deal is getting worse all the time because as time goes on, he wants more and more and more and more. It's like, dude, I want to go in here gangbusters with the plasma cutter, and now you want to sell this and you want to sell that and you can sell this. Well, I appreciate that, but no, I'm not gonna fucking sell that. I got shit to do, dude. That's not part of what's going on here. I want the frame and the chassis, and I want the roof. You already said you wanted the rest of that stuff. Pete's dead set on the steering column. He can't stop talking about it. All right, so I'll be careful.
So Pete wants the steering column. Okay, so that answers that.
Yeah.
But the nice thing about it, we can retrofit any steering column.
Yeah.
If we find 1973 Ford Gran Torino Squire station wagon, we can put that steering column in the vehicle. Not worried about it.
Pete's wise enough. Leave the steering column in there because if we take it out now and we have to move it,
you can't steer it. Yeah. You can't steer it.
He's got a point.
Yeah, there's a pair of vice grips on the steering box, and that's a royal pain in the ass. So.
I've watched them move a vehicle with you just kick the tires until it.
Until you can't kick the tires no
You
more.
can't kick the tires anymore, or it's at the angle you want it at, and then boom, you're golden. So yeah,
Like I said,
no,
if
it's
you
like
don't,
I'm going to take it out. Oh no, he's got a point. Yeah, don't touch the steering column. Now
I've had to move with the pipe wrench on the stub shaft coming out of the steering box.
Yeah, no thanks.
All right, here we go. No, stay right next to it.
Here, hold the vice grips, or whatever. I think that's isn't that a trademark name like Band-Aid or Kool-Aid or?
Yep.
You can't.
Yep, it is.
Aren't there a couple other tools that are like that too? That technically
Crescent.
The best
Crescent
part.
wrench.
Crescent wrench.
I will never stop laughing.
Mac tools. Mac.
Yeah. I will never stop laughing that England and America share the same language, but we have vastly different names for tools.
Well, the spanners versus the wrench.
Dike.
Well,
Cutters.
that's like Whitworth.
Pliers.
Whitworth tools, an actual Whitworth wrench. You could buy a Whitworth branded Whitworth size wrench. Now, Whitworth sizes were set specifically for nuts and bolts and things like that were just off from what was standard automotive, the SAE standard. So Whitworth was a manufacturer that manufactured tools that fit their nuts and bolts. But you could also buy Whitworth-sized pieces from Snap-on and Proto and all the others.
No, that always fascinated me. What? You need what? Or in Star Wars, bring me the hydro spanner. There's a water wrench. At least screwdrivers are called the same thing. I'm happy with that.
Bill, if my back wasn't messed up, I would have loved to go over there and get your 48 and just throw an engine and stuff on that chassis, put the wheels on it to get that thing up and running, just to drive it around with a tank in it and just a motor in a seat. Let's make a hot rod out of it. Right. Just to get it up and running and stuff on it.
I bought that 320.
You got all the parts.
Well, I bought that 327 motor that's locked up to do a Will It Run video. So we have that. We have the 235. Let's do this.
Make a Lakester out of it.
Yeah. Throw part of a body on it and just get enough for the firewall and stuff on it, and you could do a lot of little things with it.
I want to apologize, too, because you guys were really on the patina bandwagon, but I'm really digging the matte black look after years of going. Oh, so
the murder phase.
Well, I've been on the fence with matte black because on one hand, it kind of looks like a toy or a military vehicle from the future.
Well, the thing is,
on the other hand, it's kind of sexy.
Yeah, the thing is with the patina, it's just one thing to less worry about when you get everything else up and running. You know.
Yeah.
It's like we build a car, we look at the chassis, the engine, and everything, the running gear first. Then we worry about the body later. The body can look like hell.
Yeah.
But if the brakes and everything else work and you can use it, then because I painted my cars flat black before. I've had them patinaed. I had them murdered out. I'm not opposed to that because it's cheaper than a paint job. You can primer and stuff on it. But that's once the car gets running and gets used. Until then, you can paint your car, but if it's not running, you're kind of like, okay, that was, unless you're going to sell it, then you paint it and let the next person worry about it.
Yeah.
But
black was what we used to put over the primer when you couldn't afford to paint. Because primer, you cannot leave open to, you do not leave it open to the element because it will break down. It's not designed to be under something else. So you put a nice coat of primer, you did your guide coat, you did it up nice, you made it nice, but you can't afford the $2,000 to do a nice paint job or the $800 to go buy the paint yourself and do it yourself. So you go down and you buy all the rattle can black you can, and you get the matte finish because it costs less, and you spray the whole thing so that the primer doesn't start to leach garbage into it. Because I know I can come back later, and now I just have a really thick guide coat, and I can go over the top of that
Yeah.
clean it up with the 180 and the 300, and I can spray a
Oh
beautiful
yeah.
paint job over the top.
Even some of that sandpaper you gave me, that's like 9 whatever. That that's probably what I'm going to do with the truck. Where I'm probably might just paint it white because it's been primer now for so long and been rained on. I'm absolutely terrified of what's happened
Oh,
underneath.
Bill, if you're gonna paint it white, let me help you with it, because Rob won't understand this. You
Okay.
get a you get a Rust-Oleum thing of white. You can get gloss white. You can get flat white. If you mix them, you can create a satin white if you want it, depending on what you do. And with a little bit of acetone or mineral spirits, you mix that into portions. You could shoot that through a paint gun. All you need is a compressor. The white is easiest thing to lay, and it's the easiest to learn on. So it means you can paint it, and you could put runs in it, but you won't see it. You can wet sand it later. It's easy to fix. So that means it'll
What are you
lay thick and lay
insinuating,
easy.
guy?
It'll look good. It'll look good. Let's do a
That,
Rust-Oleum paint job on it.
All right.
Get it in it, cut it in 1 gallon. We'll paint that whole truck. If you put it in equal portions, and it's like what, $59, $60
Something like that.
for
yeah,
a
and they
Rust-Oleum
have
one.
an automotive grade. Rust-Oleum has an automotive grade paint, which is wonderful. Eastwood does it. A lot of shops, a lot of the paint houses have gone to making automotive grade because you can buy the HVLP guns, a high volume, low pressure gun, and you can spray in your backyard. Quite literally, if you buy a pop up or pop up canopies that you would take to the park, you get two of those. You park the truck underneath those, and you get the clear plastic, and you drape that all the way around. You get two box fans,
You were saying
one
this, yeah.
blowing in and one blowing out, and you now have a paint booth. You can shoot the Rust-Oleum paint all day long and have a beautiful paint job for your first paint job.
In a
So your
weekend.
primer, you take and you scratch your primer down with 300 grit paper. So all you're doing is giving it a tooth. You're getting all this top stuff off. You're getting all the
It's
contaminants off.
nice and even.
You spray it with primer again so that you've got a nice primer coat down. Sand that. And again, you're going to use 300 grit because all you're doing is smoothing it out. And you hit it with the two coats of the white, and you're going to have a beautiful paint job. You're going to have a 60-footer, but if you do it right, you're going to have a 20-footer. People are going to go, "Damn, Bill, where'd you get that painted?"
Mm-hmm.
Well, I went to Graybeard Paint Shop. He took care of it for me.
What the crazy old bastard paints incorporated.
And if you take the white, you drop a little bit of the Regal blue in it. You can get that powder, the blue look to
Baby
it,
blue look.
and the white, and yeah, and spray it right over the white that you did to give it that. Because you don't need too much of it. You put it in there, then you can two-tone the truck if you want
Yes. I
with
want to
basic
do
Oh,
the
we
colors.
can
And
bottom
teach you.
the bottom baby blue and the top white.
yep.
The top's
Oh,
already
guy,
white actually.
we can spoil him rotten. We need to take him down to the paint store. We need to take you to the paint shop and let you
Come
see
to
some
the
of the
paint
things you can
store.
do. Here's some fun stuff that some people won't. If you paint it white,
Mm.
you can buy candies, which are colored tinted clears.
Really?
So you paint it white,
Yeah.
you pick up some blue candy, and you start doing a fade. You lay it down at the bottom first. You slowly take your paint up about halfway, and you stop. You let that set, and then you start at the bottom again, and you lay down the blue candy, but you don't go as far. Then you start after that sets. Start down low, and you bring it up a little bit, and at the bottom,
Mm.
just bring it up, just a small amount. You get this beautiful fade, and that's the way these guys were making some of these beautiful custom fades in the 40s and the 50s. Was laying out these, they were using cellulose paints and stuff like that. That's why most of those guys aren't around anymore. But
Yeah.
Because it
you would
was
do that with the candies
lead
and the clears.
poisoning.
Bring it up, and you would do some beautiful work. That's a Gene Winfield fade.
Yep.
I want to go to this paint store now. You've piqued my interest because red is the most expensive color, according to most of these guys that do body
Yeah, it is.
painting and everything. So I want to do a Inferno Orange for the 48 coupe, and I want to do
Actually,
Midnight Blue.
they have one like in Rust-Oleum.
Really?
You could do one in Rust-Oleum with an Inferno Orange. They have a particular like a burnt orange in Rust-Oleum that might work. That might be cost effective for
It's
you, Bill.
the dichotomy of our friendship, guys. Sometimes you tell me horrible shit that destroys all my dreams, and then sometimes you open the floodgate of possibilities. Thank you.
And the nice thing about it is they have beautiful swaths of color. So they have
Oh, yeah.
all these wonderful sets of color.
Really?
But the thing to remember is you've painted. You know what it means to mix color. You can do a beautiful custom shade. You go buy 2 gallons, and you buy a small pint can. You mix your custom shade. You remember how much you mixed, so you can remix it later. And off you go. Now you have the Bill Kelly, crazy bastard, burnt umber orange,
Kelly
blow
Green.
your brains out color.
Yeah.
Here it is.
Yep.
Boom. And everybody says, where'd you get that? Well, I had a little bit of this and a little bit of that.
It's Pius.
All you need to do is keep measuring cups, or if you want to, you could save like the tops of Pepto-Bismol or NyQuils.
Yeah. Oh,
So you just need a measuring cup account. Yeah, just to measure out and just remember, write it down so you can mix it up anytime you want, and you can mix up any sort of colors with these basic primary, and it'll create a whole swath of new colors to come out. Painting is awesome when you get into it and look at it. And with the Rust-Oleum, you could do. This is where the creativity comes from. Is the paint and it's cheap, but when you add the different colors, you could do whatever you want. You can come up with different shades of yellow, orange, red by adding the things on it. Then if you add a flat to it, it'll make it matte like satin. You can add more gloss to it. You go with the clear coat. Anything with a pearlescent will make it pearlescent if you lay it on top. You can do it however you want. That truck, whatever you want to do with that truck, you can make that truck into a 48 pop.
And it's funny,
Yeah.
too, because Chip, my brother-in-law, is always, oh, you should wrap it. You should do this. Are you okay, guy? You having some allergies?
A little bit dirt from that stuff. I just came in from outside, so I was cooling down a bit.
Okay.
Wraps can cost you as much as a high-end paint job. A wrap can cost you $4 or $5 grand.
The problem is, it's like, okay, $2,000, and you still have to sand down the vehicle. But what are the long-term effects of wraps? If moisture gets
wraps,
under
you don't
there,
have to sand down the vehicle. You don't have to sand down a vehicle for a wrap. That's the point behind it. Is you can lay a wrap on top of the paint. Where when I was talking about wraps damaging vehicles, it was when we were talking about idiots putting them on these Cybertrucks.
Yeah,
Cybertrucks, it destroys the stainless steel because of the adhesive, and these guys don't realize in that case that vehicle needed to be sanded and shot with a clear before you put the wrap over it. Okay. Otherwise, you're going to play hell getting the wrap off without destroying the finish. You then have to have somebody come in, refinish your stainless steel.
I'm very
curious. The simple way to put it, Bill, is like, have you ever tried to peel a label off and there's a gooey stuff that is left underneath the label? Like if you're trying to peel it off a beer bottle or something, you get that's what happens to the Cybertrucks when you take the wrap off. You get the gooey film that's on it that etches into it, and when you try to use chemicals on it, it etches the metal. Or you try to sand it off, you ruin it because it leaves that gooey stuff left on.
Oh, yeah. Don't do that if you have a Cybertruck. That's a tip from the council.
Tip, Bill. Yeah,
the nice thing about paint, too, Bill, is if you were to shoot a very pale, very, very pale primer, so the lightest gray primer, and then you shoot white over the top of that, you don't need as many coats for the white to show through and shine and to really be nice and bright.
Yeah.
If you use a dark primer, you can get primer up to black. If you use a black primer and you put white on it, it's going to look muted. You're going to put a lot more coats on it to get it to come out. But that's also a trick in the painting industry. So if I wanted to really blow somebody's mind, and I go buy Ferrari yellow, and
Ooh.
I put it over a very, very light primer. It's going to be very, very bright. Oh, wow, that's incredible. That looks beautiful. If I put it over a red primer, it's going to start to change the tones. If I put it over a dark primer, it's going to change the tones again. And so that's how these guys can pull some of this stuff off. And then again, that's when the candies come into play. So if you spray a white on the truck, you come back in and you do a very pale blue candy coat. It's going to give it, depending on how much you put over the top of it, it's going to give it a blue hue.
Yeah.
But you could make it a powerful baby blue, powder blue. People are going to look at it and say, oh my God, how did you get it to look that deep? Well, that's because this is a clear tint over the top that makes it have this incredible depth. And then I shoot a clear over the top of that, and it really shines. So that's how you build it up. And you can cause all kinds of hell for people.
Oh, yeah.
I think for decades, Paul pushed. They used the RV thing out at the Renaissance Festival for the Bedlam Bells, and that fell apart. And then he got it, and it's like the RV. And it was behind his shop, and we put tarps over it, and it was kind of like the outside shop or storage. But I ended up with all of it, and right now all of the poles are in the 48 coupe, the Ford 48 coupe.
Oh.
So at this point, which should I do? Bring that home, set it up on the driveway, start body work, or set it up out there and start body work with the clear plastic and the 2 box fans. I remember you said that before. And Pete was always like, well, yeah, set it up anywhere you want. But the problem with that is that everything out there it's kind of in a constant state of flux. Things are moved, things change position. So I go out there last week and my trailer's being used for storage. I'm not using it.
The nice thing about it is to do body work and to spray primer. You don't need a booth. You really don't.
Only for paint.
You want to do it for all of that. You want to do it on a calm day, but you're going to be able to just do all of the body work, all of that stuff in the driveway. It doesn't matter. Like Guy said, the only time you need a booth, you need some way to keep the air and the particles getting to it is when you're actually spraying your base coat and your top
clear coats. Yeah,
that's it. So at that point, you could set it up out there very easily, and you have it there. Put it together. You spray it. The most it's going to need to sit is for 24 hours because after 24 hours, it's off-gassed enough. You can take it out of there. You put it any place you want to, and it's going to be fine. Then it's going to cure for a couple of weeks.
Yeah. Well, I'm kicking myself because for 3 decades, I could put a 220 line right next to your fuse box. My dad used to say that, and I was like, nah, I don't really need it. What am I going to plug into? Oh, well, you have it in case you get a big. Now I've got that compressor, and I need a 220 line. So once I get that, it's just one of those small hurdles to get to the next level. Because, I enjoy using the SCT tool and the wire brushes and everything. But sandblasting is faster.
Oh, it is. It is.
It's just faster.
The only thing is with sandblasting is once you expose the metal, you have to work quickly and fast to put some cover on it, like Rob was on it, because you'll flash rust it really quickly. And if you leave it outside, they have a monsoon, you'll have flash rust, and you have to do it again and again. Yeah. So usually, if you're going to do that, you have to have a beginning and start. Don't just start it and try to stop it. Because when you come back, all the work that you did was just wasted. You got to sand it all again. Get all that rust.
That's why if you took a vehicle to a sandblaster, usually what they're going to sell you is the sandblasting and an epoxy They're going to put something
And
over the top of it, or they're going to tell you exactly what Guy said. Then you take it, and we're not responsible for anything. It's on you to cover it when you get it the hell out of
Yeah.
and honestly, Bill, I want you to paint your dad's old '66 old truck, just because, so you can learn the technique. Because to sand it down and use the old paint as a base. Because I mean, if the white goes bad in a year or 2 years, you didn't spend that much money into it, and it's just the practical knowledge of it, and just to paint it and to do the two tone. Because like if I was doing your truck, I would take the body off the bed, the bed off of it, so I can paint the back of the cab. So when you get the paint, if you could two tone it, what you should watch, Bill, is a guy did a truck like yours, but he put orange, a nice orange, and a white top, and it's gray beard. He made a dually, a custom dually, and he lowered it, but he painted it orange, and he used a Rust-Oleum, but he used like a caution orange or something. He called it, because he's working on a budget and he's doing it cheap.
Yeah.
And he painted it, and it looked good, and I was like, oh, that actually makes sense.
Yeah, I'm on
The
a
white and
budget,
everything.
and I'm not a body man. I'm going to do it inexpensive and to the best of my ability.
And he shows you tricks of what to do to make it look good, because you can't strip it all the way. It's going to cost too much. Then you got to seal it, like Rob says. So we use the paint that it has on, the primer that it's gone on, knock it down. We might do a little bit body work where we can, but we're not going to do rust repair or nothing, because you already had the rockers done and so forth. So we straighten that out. It gives you a chance to it, and you paint over white, because if you mess the white up, let's say you get bugs or dirt in it, you can clean that up, and you can spray that section again. White is very forgiving, so it's a great one to learn on. Then even the light blue is very forgiving, because you can paint over that. Then you paint the bed of it, and maybe we try to do is cut wood for it. Get the slats, cut the wood, drill the holes, and create the wood bed. You paint the inside and the outside, then you create the wood bed, then drop a nice bed on your truck. And we paint the bumpers white, we paint the cab, and the bed, the blue, the light blue, the top of the cab white, we leave the interior white, the grill, the bumper, and the rear bumper white.
Yep.
Then if you get crazy, if you want to get crazy, we can pull the rims off of it, clean them up, and paint the rims white if you want to, because I remember they had the...
I love, just leave the rims the way they are. But yeah.
Are they chrome?
Huh?
Are they chrome?
Yes.
Are they chrome?
Yes.
Oh, then we leave them chrome. Then we can polish the rims. We could get a polisher just on a drill, just polish the heck out of them and put them on.
We need to get him some late 50s Plymouth bumpers, turn them upside down, and mount them.
Maybe.
With Dagmars on the front.
I'm okay with those. Cadillac style Dagmars. No, I was out there looking at them like, okay, I got to do this, I got to do that, but it's a mental debate of I should probably just bring the poles home and set up the tent in the driveway.
I wouldn't set it up in your driveway, because the city will come and have a fit. Yeah, in the back.
On the side, maybe.
Can you? Yeah, because if you can get it, as long as it's not in the front, nobody can really complain. And it's a temporary structure, which means you don't need any permits or anything like that. Now, temporary is relative. You know, my idea of temporary is it's here until I breathe my last. The city's idea of temporary is it can be taken down whenever it needs to. That's fine.
I'm going to have to do it up there because...
Okay.
There's not enough room to get a car through my big side gate because of a property issue that Bob knows he's encroached on my property, and I don't really want to ask him to chop up concrete. We're not ready at that point yet, so just let it go for now.
Well, how about this? I got an idea that might actually help out.
We could use your house.
No, we already done something. We put tarps on the floor.
That's not fair. You have a quarter of an acre.
you got dirt out there, right?
You got at the ranch. Oh, there's lots of dirt, guy.
Yeah, well, dirt. You don't want that to be flying up or coming up onto your paint and staining it. So what you do is you find a level area that you have, and you could stake and put a tarp on the ground. You put
Yeah.
a tarp on the ground, you wait out, you drive the vehicle on it, then you level everything out. Then you put the tent over it and use the tent spikes to hold the tent and the tarp underneath of it. Then what you could do is you could take trash bags or whatever and tape it and tarp it down the side of the tent. Is your a full tent that has sides on it, or is it just the top, the canopy?
Oh, it's just the poles.
It's just a post, but do you have a canopy on top?
No, this one doesn't have anything left. So all
That
you'd have to
that
do is
has
go and get the 12 or the 18 mil plastic,
And put
get
it
the
on top.
clear plastic. Yeah, and just lay the clear plastic over the top. And that works
Okay,
perfect.
the
And then the
that'll
vinyl.
work.
tarp,
Yeah, the vinyl
you lay
sides
the
of that.
tarp down,
Yeah.
and then you hose it down. You bring the car in, you hose down the tarp so that it keeps everything down, and then you do all of your tack cloth and your degrease and all of that. Turn on your fans and you start spraying.
Start spraying. Once you get the first cannon and all, you mix up four gun things on it, and you just shoot right after another, and you do the whole thing. Next,
Nice,
you
even
keep it walking.
strokes. No, I started on the 54 grill, and then I took a bunch of paint off, so got to put something on there. So I put the matte black on there, and I was like, actually, this kind of looks sexy. I know you guys were talking about the patina, but going with
Oh,
this.
No,
that's perfect.
the matte black looks good for hot rodding. It's classic hot rodding matte black on it.
Nah, nah,
It's just that you can do all of it matte black would be fine with it.
nah. Yeah.
When you actually clean up the parts, will look fine with it. Um, it's not going to hurt it whatsoever.
No, no,
You know,
no, no.
it's not.
This will be our lodge car, like the Possum Lodge has the Possum van.
Oh, the
So,
possum van, yeah.
because I mean, we can buy a. I would really like it to be a step side because I want to own a step side because I own, I don't have one. I have fleet sides, but it doesn't need to have a bed. We can just put a flat bed on it for fun. Then I could
Yeah.
function as a, you know, because the problem with the 66 is I don't want that to be a working truck. That's a hot rod we drive on the weekend. You know.
Yeah.
Well, that's the whole idea of it. Is you
Yeah.
want to make it a nice classic truck that you want to drive around and look good. I wouldn't build it to put a motor in the back of it and to haul stuff with it. It
No, no,
just you do the bed, you do it nice, put a nice
no.
paint job. You wanted a classic to take to a show, not
Yeah, yeah.
to
Not to
Yeah.
where this
not that.
the 54 that the 235 is in my backyard, and so we all we need now is a hood. We have all the other pieces, pretty much. If we can get the engine and I did pour transmission fluid inside the, and I mean you could hear it pour in. That's how empty it was. So we're gonna let that sit for a couple days, folks. Don't worry, I'll have a video, and we'll see where we get with that. But yeah, I'm hopeful.
Oh yeah, we could do stuff with it. The good thing about hot rodding is you can use anything that you have, and it's a mix match of hot rod, and it's only limited by your imagination and what parts are available to you.
That's what all the
So,
what you murder cars, blackout cars. That's what you guys are talking about.
yeah,
I used to love it when people would look at me and they would say, "Well, you can't use that on that. Why not? Well, it doesn't fit." And in the old days, I could say things like, "Well, I have a mill, lathe, welder. So show me what doesn't fit.
Show me what doesn't fit. I will fabricate this for you.
I will fabricable something together, and it will
Fabricable.
fit."
Fabricable. Oh yeah,
Well, I'd
from
like to do.
Terrible.
Yeah. Our will it run with that compressor you got going? Got a lot of views, so I'd like to do a lot more. Will it run videos are very successful, and you know,
That was funny. I thought he was going to lose it. Oh, you see this? There it is. Have a good time.
hey, I could sell this. That's always his first.
Here's your switch.
That's his go-to. People will buy this. Well, probably, yeah. Somebody will.
If it's usable, people will buy it.
Yeah.
They just doing that stuff on it.
Now we got to go out there, and there's like 3 pro specs, including my 47 Ford 4-door that we can make Mad Max cars out of.
I still want the little what did he have? He had the little S10 Blazer, and
There's 4 of them out
take
there.
the chopped up the 50s Chevy truck cabs that he's got that he's absolutely convinced they can't be useful for anything. And this one fits right on that S10 chassis.
Mm.
It's a little bit wide, but it fits on that S10 chassis. Perfect. You put the clapped out fenders and the clapped out hood, because it doesn't have to be perfect. And then the bed that he's got that's all chopped all to hell. Well, you're going to take off 6 inches from the back and 3 inches from the front.
Yeah.
Make this short little bed to fit on that S10 chassis.
That's going to be
that little blazing chassis.
He thought that
Off
was
you go.
Yeah, he liked that idea. He's got those 258s. He wants 10 grand for the one that is in better condition, but he only wants like 6,500 for the other one. But he wanted to make a deal with you on that other 58, the one you like, the farm truck, which
I have no cash, which is killing me.
dude, that one and so many others out there. I want to own them.
I would put that one to use. I just got hit up by number 2 Lodge.
Yeah.
So the original Masonic Temple downtown has 3 lodge rooms up on the 3rd floor. And one room is for Blue Lodges, and one room is for York Rite. One room is used by the Eastern Star.
Nice.
But they're all basically the same. Well, all of those railings that I made for the lodge out Avondale, these guys want me to make 3 sets of rails for each lodge room. That's 9 sets of railings that they want. And I was like, well, yeah, you guys buy all the materials and come help me do it. But that truck would be perfect.
Yeah.
Load all that stuff on it, and off I go. But I don't have a couple of grand to give him.
Which is another reason
Take
why.
that truck home.
Hey, let's get this other truck together and running, and then we could use that one until we can afford the other. Like and subscribe. Thank you. Thank you for watching. But yeah.
Oh, then
That
the
sounds
insanity
fun,
me
though.
and Rob could cause.
I know.
Oh, yeah.
That should be a good job. I mean, it's ding, 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 all the marks.
It's not going to pay me any money because I'm doing it
but
for the Masons, and that's the deal. But yeah, I mean, I enjoy doing the work. They're going to buy all the materials, which is great. If I can get them to come over and help, then I make them take pictures of what they're doing so they can post it on their website and say, look, we actually did something.
And it's also, networking. And you get all the extra leftover metal.
The thing I get a kick out of is the guy that wants me to do it is an architect. He's a well-known architect in the state. He's done a lot of restorations, things like that, beautiful buildings. I went to the Grand Communication, which is the meeting of all Masons in the state. And he and I were sitting there talking. First thing he does is he pulls out his phone. I want to show you this. I want to show you this. This is the kind of railing. What do you think of this? How about this? And then he brings over the guy who's the director or the chairman for the Masonic Temple. He says, okay, this is the guy I want to build the rails. This is what I want to do for the railings. And this is what, I was like, you guys figure it out. Not me.
Yeah.
I'm not doing it. I'll tell you where to go get the materials. I'll tell you what you need to get done. You bring it to me. You know what? I have a hot metal glue gun right there, and I can put it together.
It's almost like magic. Sometimes I have to smack it with a big hammer.
Oh my God.
Well, the nice thing about it is the 3 lodge rooms are basically identical. So if it's a matter of, I want this one, and this one, they're going to be the same, then it's like, oh, that's easy. I set out the layout table. I need one section this side. Set out the layout table. And now it turns out that I need to make 6 of those. All right, buzz, buzz, buzz. There's 1, 2, set them aside. Then okay, here you go, guys. The downside to this one, though, the one in Avondale, I was going into a concrete floor. 3rd floor in that building. The building was built in 1919 or 1922.
Oh wow!
So
Yeah,
it's
no
a
concrete.
wood floor. It's
Oh,
all original wood. So the other thing about it is, I was talking to the architect. I said, okay, understand there is no crawl space between the ceiling on the 2nd floor and your floor on the 3rd floor.
all the
So there's no
bracing.
way for me to get underneath to put bracing plates.
Or
So
lag
we're going to have to
bolts.
do certain things. We're going to have to put toggle bolts to the floor. And he wants just straight railings. And I'm thinking, well, with as old as that flooring is, I want to put wings on it because I need to make it stable.
Just in
So
case.
if somebody grabs it, it doesn't fold one way or the other.
Yeah. Because they're going to put weight on it. They're going to grab it. And when they grab and
They're
pull
gonna
up on it,
lean
they're going to
on
put weight.
it. They're gonna
They're
put
going to
their
lean on it.
Because
Yeah.
on it. Yeah.
it's going up three steps, 2 steps, and 1 step.
Oh,
But
wow.
you have to remember there are a lot of 60, 70, 80, 90-year olds who are going to be using these rails to get up 3 steps or 2 steps or 1 step. So
Mm.
I want to be able to. I'm going to tell them you need these side outriggers so that we can make sure when somebody grabs a hold of it, I have enough support bracing here that it doesn't collapse in.
Or out.
Mm.
Because that's the one thing. Because if I have the side rails like I built for the other one, it becomes very easy. Bring them down at a 45, side rail here, side rail there. Now I've got support and bracing. It's not going to allow itself to fall in it. You're not going to be able to pull it or push it over. That's the extra security that comes with it.
Probably be
Yeah.
easier just to do the whole thing in a little 2 foot, but then you wouldn't be able to access the back if you need to.
No. And the
So
problem is since he's drilling into the floor and has to
Yeah.
use those bolts, you got to get a lot of working back and forth. It's going to widen that it's going to tear up the wood underneath of it and cause problems later for leaking and so forth. Because if there's no crawl space there, that means that plaster, that drywall is there. Then it's boom, boom, the floor right above it. So that means you can have problems later with stuff seepage, leakage, or whatever on that rail. So yeah, I can see
yep.
where he has to brace it from underneath because otherwise, whew.
So we're going to use large foot plates. And he wants escutcheons to go around it, and that's fine. We can figure out a discussion. But I'm going to tell I want the outriggers for safety. We can put escutcheons there as well. They're very pretty. But the toggle bolts to go in, do it safely. If I had my choice, the flooring would come up. I would open up the floor and put heavy bracing and everything else so I could do it. But in a 100-plus-year-old building, no way in hell I'm opening that floor up. That
Oh
is a
no.
Pandora's
that is
box.
a that is sacred space. It's a historical building. Nope. So I'll do it. I'll work with it. But I'm going to be an ass when it comes to saying nope. I want these safety pieces here so that it doesn't rock back and forth and we don't have it loosening up in a year or two because we put a 36-inch lever and you have a 180-pound person pulling on a 36-inch lever. Archimedes says I can move the world, but all I'm worried about is moving that bolt right through the wood.
And that wood is 100 that old already to begin with, so you already know you're not dealing with new
Yep.
structure. So
I
that old
figure it's
structure.
probably got at least one layer. It's probably got at least one layer of big air quotes new subfloor over the top
Yeah.
of the original.
Oh
And
wow.
that subfloor is probably 60, 70 years old. So
Oh yeah.
Well,
Oh yeah. You definitely got the work cut out for you. Whoa.
yeah, we'll have to keep
yep.
the viewers posted on Like and subscribe for Rob the Blacksmith's battles with Father Time. He's such a dick. Everything's Father Time's fault. Fuck that guy. He ruins everything. Makes
Oh,
us
no
break
kidding.
Stuff, kills people. Oh, ruins buildings and cars.
It's between Father Time and Mother Nature. She won't take her medication.
Mother
Just
Nature
fucking
kills
hang it.
indiscriminately. Well, I guess they both do. Fuck them both.
They're
You're
both
right.
murderers.
They're both murderers. Here's to
Just-
Mother Nature and Father Time.
Okay.
Especially in Arizona. She doesn't take her meds. So
No.
that's why we get, hey, what's the temperature today? 72 degrees. Hey, what's the temperature tomorrow? 132. Oh, great. Thank you.
Where are you
We'll
from?
give them something to cry about.
Where are you from? Phoenix, Arizona. What does Mother Nature mean to you? Well, she's kind of like Pele, only there's no volcano involved.
Mm.
That's right. Pele's nicer.
Yeah, at least she's like
At least
calm
you know
for a
you-
while.
At least you know what you get. Pele.
what
Oh, I
stops-
saw today.
Oh.
You missed one of the wonderful things about today. What is today? Today
fresh-
is official start of monsoon season.
Oh my God, you're right.
Oh,
It's
the monsoonies and the haboobs. Oh my goodness.
We don't use the word hub.
Fun.
That's a recent. I've only heard that in like the last. Anyway, monsoon. Father Monsoon is Gorilla Monsoon. Gorilla Monsoon was a wrestler turned later in his career a commentator for the WWE, or the WWF, which later became the WWE. Anyway, that's neither here nor there. Father Monsoon is the only thing that can calm Mother Nature down in the middle of summer in Arizona.
You know what the funny thing was?
He brings
The funny thing is,
tequila. He uses tequila.
hey Bill, you remember when we were growing up?
Yeah.
They never really used the word monsoon. They would always call it desert storms.
They would use monsoon a lot. You heard that word all the time. It wasn't until the last
Yeah, but
10 years
it wasn't as much when we were growing up. It just more recently. The desert storm forecast, and they would do a whole bunch of stuff, and they didn't even use haboob until recently. And I'm like, oh man, they really changed it.
Low pressure front.
Low pressure.
That was no man. That's the beginning of the monsoon. It's an upside down volcano. Just call it what it is. It's going to punch Phoenix for about an hour or so, and then it's fine.
It's gonna leave.
Those were the days that I learned that as soon as Grandpa said, pick up your tool, that meant there was a storm coming. And everybody would look, how does he know there's a storm coming? Well, let's see. He's lived here almost his entire life. He's been an old-time rancher.
Yeah.
And, so if he says it's going to rain, get your shit, get it in the house.
Go. Just don't question. Just go. It's the same with, like, cars. You don't worry about a cracked block because of ice in Phoenix. You worry about a cracked block because some stupid kid didn't check the oil and he ran it and it overheated and it threw a rod or split a bearing and now.
Right. Because they had a bad core plug and the water leaked out of it enough that you got a hot spot and the engine overheated. Now you managed to cause a crack, and most of the blocks here don't have a crack on the outside of the block unless you really did something extraordinary and decided to create a window block. You get a crack between the open water gallery and the cylinder itself, because that's where the heat concentrates. Find that one spot.
Right in the heat cycle portion of it, yep.
And
the G spot, the motor spot.
The G it's over spot. We need a new engine now.
Yeah, because I've seen guys take blocks from the Midwest up north that have a crack on the outside. And would JB weld the shit out of that block. And you can use it because there's no interior damage. And you put it back in the truck. You put it back in the tractor. You put it back in something like that. But it's not going to turn 5,000 RPMs because it's going to be used for something basic.
It's a farm truck. Just make it work.
Exactly.
I think people sleeve engines and do that.
Yeah.
Sleeve it and they
good old days sleeving motors. That was. Yeah, I'm old enough to remember that the rebuild of an engine, you didn't bore engines out as often. You took them to a machine shop and they would sleeve one cylinder and put it back together again with the original piston rings, put it all back, and you go drive it. You also had to have your valves redone every 40,000 miles. So you would adjust your valve on a regular basis. Every time you did a tune-up, you adjusted your valve. 40,000 miles, you pulled ahead, got a valve job. That was just expected. You went down and guy ground the valves by hand, put it back in the car, and off you went. We never had. I didn't know what a new starter or a new alternator was until I got much older, because you went to O'Reilly's. Actually, it was Checker Shucks Craig, and it was Checker before that. And
Auto
you went
Shack.
in and you bought an alternator rebuild kit or a starter rebuild kit. And you took it home and put the parts on the bench, hooked up the battery to it, spun it to make sure it worked the way it was supposed to, bolted it back in the car, and off you went.
Yeah, you had the little bristles and stuff in it, the new bearings. Yeah. Oh man, I remember those days. They're great days. And on the starter, you had the little solenoid you put on the new one on it. You take apart the starter, you put it back in. You rebuilt your own starter.
The one that really got me, that I remember, and very few people will remember this, we used to rebuild water pumps because there were a lot of pumps, the internationals and stuff like that. The water pumps were designed so that you could be rebuilt because they were the same parts on the tractors and the trucks. And so you would go down there and you'd buy a water pump rebuild kit, press in a new bearing and a new bushing, put it all back together again, and off you went. And the other one was fuel pumps. I used to buy a rebuild kit for fuel pumps. My internationals all had double-sided fuel pumps, with big glass globes on them.
Yep.
And you would buy you'd buy the diaphragm, all the gaskets, put it all back together again, rebuild it, put it back in, off we go.
They were like rebuilding a carburetor, right? Just like taking apart a Harley. You put the diaphragm and stuff in it, then it looks like a percolating teacup when you get the gas coming in. I remember those.
Oh, yeah.
I've got the gas filter you're talking about from the 216. That'll fit in the 235, won't it?
Probably.
Yeah.
So you've got the fuel pump that's got the glass hole on it.
Oh my God, I had to keep it. I was geeking out about it when I saw it. The guy was looking at me like I was fucking crazy. It's like, yeah, half mad. Come with me. It's fun. So
that's right.
I can go get it right
now.
Join
the dark side. We have cookies.
Yeah. In fact, all right, I accept that challenge by myself. Hold on, I'll be right back.
Okay.
That's what I tell people all the time. Join the dark side. We have cookies.
Imagine that. See, what's fun about it, Bill, is getting to experience what we already experienced, Rob. So it's kind of like living through it again.
I got to do this with my oldest boy. My youngest boy is wanting to learn now because he was the player. He had the girlfriends and did all the rest of that stuff. And now he wants to know about the cars and whatnot. So I'm going through that with him, what I went through with my oldest. And now Bill is like my oldest.
Yeah. He's going through all the stuff on it. Yeah, there it is.
Yep.
Oh, that's familiar.
Yep. A sediment bowl.
There it is with the plunger and everything on the side with it.
It's so awesome. Well, it's, 1948.
Oh, yeah.
Yep. And that arm there rides on an eccentric off of the camshaft, and that would pump the fuel. Your sediment bowl would be where you would keep, you would hope that garbage would settle in that bowl before it would go through the pump and into the carburetor.
Yeah, besides having cat hair on it, it's good. But this came out of the 216 that was in the 48 GMC panel truck.
They did the sediment bowl before filters. Before they really did a lot of
6 or 8 bolts on that housing underneath where the
2, 4, 6.
Okay, so that comes apart. New diaphragm would go in there so that you could rebuild that.
I'm missing one bolt, but I bet I know where to get one. Pete's got a bucket full of them. Yeah. Uh, I'm amazed. Thank you, Chevy and GMC, Grabowski Brothers Motor Company, because holy crap, they made so many parts that they're just like all over the place. And
Mm.
I was telling Pete today, it's like, I can understand why you love Chevy so much because Ford, I love Ford. I love them all, really. I don't really give a crap. I think they're all beautiful and neat but Ford kind of like overcomplicated everything trying to be more simplistic, whereas Chevy and GMC just kind of kept it simple and then mass produced the shit out of it. So it was a lot of, correct me if I'm wrong.
No,
Oh, the-
because you could use a lot of stuff from different years and stuff and fix it.
Yeah.
That's a good thing about Chevy because look at it. You're able to put your old Suburban onto a new Suburban frame and it's relatively going to be close to it in size. Tells you something that you can use for parts and stuff. You got
Yeah.
like when Rob was talking about the S10. The reason why it's because it's Chevy, so a lot of that stuff's going to line up automatically. So it makes it kind of easier and kind of a no brainer because you can mix match parts like crazy.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable stuff that you can get away with.
Yeah. I'm amazed how interchangeable they are from decade to decade, where like Pete and Joe and the two of you said the same thing, where it's like, well, if it's got a Suburban engine in it now, it's just a matter of changing out the motor mounts and you should be good. Maybe you'll have to
yeah,
do a cross member, but that's probably maybe. So all
yeah.
of you are pretty
And
much saying the same thing. It's got to, if you hear the same information from different sources, you're onto the truth, son.
there's two things that can go on with any vehicle. With the
uh,
Chevrolet, just like the Fords and the Chryslers, on the truck chassis, the idea was that they put the motor mount towers in depending upon what the anticipated build was for the vehicle. If it was a
uh,
big block, it got a different set of towers. Small block, there would be a different set of towers. If it was a six-cylinder, it got a different set of towers. Ford, Chrysler, Chevrolet, they all did it the same way. That was the process because it was easier, faster for them to build that. If I have the exact same set of frame rails for three different types of truck, and all I have to do is bolt on or rivet on bits and pieces to use that same thing, then I don't have to make three different kinds of frames.
yeah.
The other thing that comes along though is it took me a while to learn this. When I was younger, I was always worried about this guy have the right part.
About
And
what?
I
You're,
grandpa and the old timers always told me if you take the time, you can make the part to fit.
oh,
So growing up with the tractors and the stuff up at the ranch. So if you had just a bare frame and you decided, you know what, I'm going to piss people off. I'm going to put a GMC body on the Chevrolet frame, but
Mm.
I'm going to put a Datsun
oh my God.
2UZ motor in it.
And an
And everybody
Oldsmobile
goes, what the
transmission.
fuck?
And
And you put it in there. The nice thing about it is, do you have any? All we need to do is go find some 2-inch square tubing.
Yeah.
We've got we've got a hot metal glue gun and grinders, and guess what? I can fit anything into anything as needed. It just takes a little extra time. Then it becomes redneck.
hey, sometimes a little bit to be said for some redneck engineering.
When you look at that kid from Jennings Motorsports, and
Yeah.
he pulls a lot of stuff out from the Depression era, where
Yes, he
it's,
does.
he finds it was a Studebaker
Mm-hmm.
chassis that somebody put a Ford motor and they managed to
yeah.
cobble in a Dodge Brothers transmission, and they were able to find a large diamond Rio rear axle because they needed to make a track. And here it is. And he'll go out there. I got it running. It
Here's
goes
a
forward and backward. It does what it
1970.
needs to
Yeah.
do, and off he goes.
Yeah.
And that was the way you did it.
I I've seen so many bizarre combinations that anything's possible with enough ingenuity, like you said. both of you have said, anything is possible.
Well,
Yep.
Rob knows this. Like back in the day with street racers, we know this, where they would take a Ford 9-inch, an 8-inch, and they put it underneath a Chevy. Well, it has none of the regular mounts, but what they would do is take the mounts off of the Chevy differential,
Mm.
strip the mounts off of the Ford, weld the Chevy mounts on it, change the yoke, and drop a 9-inch, a Ford 9-inch, which a Ford with the quick change we're in, you could change gears out relatively easy. So a lot of people with hot rodding would know that you had problems with the GM C clips,
Mm.
with them breaking and you shooting out axles. Would take a 9-inch out of a Ford truck or something like that, cut it and trim it down to size, and stick it into the regular car and make it work. So they would just weld the purchase of your Chevy axle onto the Ford, throw some regular Ford rims on the rear of it, and people were none the wiser. But it's a Ford rear end underneath a Chevy.
Someone keeps
Yep.
wiping their very wet nose on my elbow. Sorry. Is that called a?
Oh
Is
yeah.
that a Dana trans rear axle guy? A
Dana is a
9-inch?
different manufacturer.
Different
Dana
manufacturer.
Spicer
Okay.
makes rear end axles. There is the GM corporate, which are the 10 volt, the 12 volt, 14 volt.
Mm-hmm.
There is the Sterlings, which are the newer ones that Ford likes.
Okay.
There was then AMC used to make their own branded axles for vehicles. And those were the big players in axles. Chrysler used to make it 8.5. Yeah,
Yeah, 8.5.
Chrysler had the 8.5, which also had a dropout center section, but it wasn't as robust. The 9-inch became the standard, the ubiquitous hot rod rear end, because they were plentiful for a long time. And used to be you could go into the junkyard, you could pick them up all the time, and they were easy to cut and weld and add and change. And that became such a standard that now find Speedway and Jegs, all of these hot rod shops make just the center housing itself. And you can custom cut it to size. You can buy the center section, buy custom axles to fit in it, because it has become ubiquitous. You can adjust it and have it built or build it yourself to match whatever your needs are.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
you can do it relatively inexpensive.
you could buy a
That
whole
was,
kit, stick it in your
yeah,
47.
Really.
To
well,
put
that
that
was
Ford 9-inch, you could put in your 47.
the
Hmm.
Ford 9-inch is as ubiquitous as the Chevrolet small block,
Mm.
Okay.
because there were so many of them, they were so plentiful, and they could be built so cheaply that you could put them out there. But they also left a lot of room for advancement.
Hmm.
So you could easily build them up
Add and
with
modify.
help from from a third party. The third parties always saw, okay, well, if I do this or add that or make that, so that was why Chevrolet became so popular, because they were all over the place, and there was so much capacity to improve the engine. Chevrolet left a lot on the table when they built the 350. They
Hmm.
built the 350 as basic as it could be. When uh, Edsel was with Ford, you started to get some ideas, but Ford wanted to eke out everything they could. They didn't want to leave anything on the table if they didn't have to. So Ford didn't have as much that could be done to get more power out of it. So you've got a bone stock Chevy 283 and a bone stock Ford 289. 289 often had higher numbers than the 283. But the 283 had a lot of room to improve. Ford put a lot more time trying to eke what they could out of the 289. Then you had to go to bigger things. The big block Chevys, the 396s, the 454s, the 427s. There was a lot that could be done to make these things really, really potent, but it was done by the aftermarket. Ford built, when they built the 427, Ford, the FE series, then they said, well, we're going to build the side oil through the oiling system. But the 427 in and of itself was a powerhouse. The side oiler became even more potent. Then they went ahead and they decided that they were going to build the camera motor because they were going to just shame everybody. Well, they built this multiple $1,000 motor back in the 60s, the early 60s. So the cost of that engine was more than buying 3 or 4 brand new cars. But that motor also scared the shit out of NASCAR. And it scared the shit out of the Drag Racing Association because it was so powerful and potent. But again, Ford's engineer said, we're going to take this to the nth degree. Like you said, Ford went for that level of complexity because they wanted to eke everything out. Chevrolet said, I'm going to get what I can out of it within a very specific realm. Chrysler was somewhere in between. Chrysler had the leaning tower of power with the great industrial, the slant six.
Yeah.
But then they decided, okay, well, we're going to take this Hemi, this hemispheric combustion chamber that they refined. They didn't really develop and design it. It was somebody else's design, but they really took it to the next level. But when they did, they made these incredible motors, these incredible power. But they also had the 340 series, 318 series, 360 series, which left a lot on the table. But that also left room for guys like Ed Iskenderun and all the rest of these great guys, Power and the rest of them, to come in there and say, well, I can see where I can make this better.
Yeah.
The Hemi, you didn't have as much room to play around with that elephant. You wanted to play around with the elephant, you had to do some amazing things to get that thing to produce more power than it did. That was the thing with the 427 series motors. When Ford went to the 428 motor, they lost a little bit, but they got caught up in the whole process of, now they had people there that were like the Chevrolet guys that were, okay, bean counters, we got to be careful. The last hurrah for Ford was the Boss 429, the hemispheric head 429 big block. That was the last time they got an opportunity to really go wild before the bean counter shut all of that stuff down, which is unfortunate. And now we have the big block LS, and we have the late model Hemis, and we have the Godzilla Ford. So we're back to a point where we've got 3 big players. Chevrolet left something on the table. Chrysler left much less on the table. And Ford has left some on the table, but the aftermarket's still figuring out the Godzilla motor. The Hemi, they know about it, but the Hemi was built to produce a lot of power, and it is fragile because of it.
Yeah.
That's the only downside with the Hemi, the late model.
Yeah.
The LS, you can really go crazy, but Chevrolet, again, understood in that respect, as the kids like to say, Chevrolet understood the assignment. They make a motor that produces a good amount of power, but I'm not going to overdo it. I'm not going to overdevelop this motor at this point. They did that with the Corvette flat, but that flat plane has nothing to do with any of the LS motors that you see floating around. Everything else. That flat plane motor is Chevrolet's, I'm going to take it to the furthest extent I can because somebody's going to pay me for it.
Yeah.
Just to put it in perspective, like what Rob was saying, like say your dad's truck, your 66, it has a 350 in it, right, Bill?
Yep.
Okay. You could do a lot of stuff to that engine because they left a lot of meat on the bone where you don't have to tear the engine apart. Like you don't have to tear it apart because you could take an aluminum intake, have it match ported to the intake and get better flow. You put headers on it. You could take the timing chain off of it and put a double roller timing chain on it. You could take the points distributor, pull it out and stick an HEI and get better ignition system for timing and for dwell. And we're not tearing into the engine at all.
No,
this is add-on stuff that you can do and just bolt it on. The carburetor too. Once you change from a single plane to a dual plane. You could get more timing, more advance and stuff in it. So you could change the horsepower outlet with it, or just changing stuff on your engine, and it'll
Yeah.
totally open it up, and it'll run so much different. And I haven't even put a cam. I haven't put pistons in it. I haven't done nothing to the valve train yet.
No, no. I mean,
Gone really crazy.
you guys need to take a look at that. Ron's been all over the 66, but you and Rob haven't really, like looked under the hood and driven her around, and no power steering. It's an old school 66, but
we could put it on there.
yeah, eventually, I think that would be cool.
You could put power steering on there.
Be good
You could
video.
do it. You could do it on the cheap, because all you need to do is we got to do a junkyard crawl and go to a junkyard and stuff and find a 350 block that has a power steering, and buy all of the brackets and stuff to put the belt and everything in the pump.
Just by the engine.
Then what we got to do is we got to find the gearbox that you have on your truck and find one of power steering with the power hoses and switch that gearbox. Take the bolts, drop it, put the gearbox to a power steering, and we can convert that to power steering on it.
Really?
I've done it to a car. I took a power steering off, putting a manual gearbox on it, because when we went racing with them, my friend's Camaro, then we took the power steering off from a Firebird and put it into a 69 Camaro, because they're GM, it's similar, and made his non-power steering car power steering.
Right on.
We went and got brackets. So you can get the brackets with the 350, just finding out what type of 350 you got the pulleys, and you got to go junkyard crawl. You got to go look through older cars and get the pulleys, or you go to a swap meet. And once you find that and you find your gearbox, then it's just hooking it up, getting the hoses, putting the hoses in it, put the fluid, and putting it all together. Put the coupler, and you can put power steering in your truck.
Well, I would like power steering and all the others, so we're probably going to have to do those. We'll make those videos too.
Like those two, yeah. You could do a lot of crazy things, like, because the 350, the beauty about it is the mounting places where you mount the stuff is all relatively the same. The only difference is the distance from the front of the engine to the pulley. Longer, shorter water pumps. That's the only thing you have an issue with, is because some vehicles have a longer nose, so they have to put a huge water pump, nose on the water pump, to come closer to the radiator. And other cars, like a Corvette, is shorter, so the water pump's more shortened, so all the pulleys are more close to the engine. It's just the distance of the pulleys. Once you figure that out and figure out where to get it, then the rest of it is just getting the hoses, finding the hoses, going through it, and putting it on. And I bet your frame on the 66 has the 3 or 4 bolts that it needs to put the gearbox in with power steering in it.
I wouldn't know offhand. You would have to look at it. Though now I watched Pete upgrade his 64 from drums to discs in the front.
You can do that too? You could do that too.
Looking at that, yeah. Not just the 66, but the 48 panel truck has no front axle. So why not just start with a modern one?
Yeah, you could do that, and the welding points and stuff with it. It'll alleviate so much problems. Like on your 66, you could do one of two things. You got drum brakes on it. You can use the spindles of the drum brakes and use the conversion brackets to give you disc, and you're gonna have to drill and taper it for the bigger bolts. You can do that, but you have to buy a kit that retrofits it. Or you find newer spindles. I think there's a part number for it, like off of a 73 or newer, and you're gonna have to change your tie rod ends. You put the newer spindles on that already has the things for the disc brakes that you can put in. Then you run the newer tie rod ends and you put them on, and you can convert them over to disc brakes. Junkyard crawl. Junkyard crawl.
Baby. It's one more problem. That's how we do. Like and subscribe. Hey, I
Like and
spent
subscribe,
all day
Junkyard.
in the hot dirt. I mostly mostly laid down on the driver's side because there was shade. Because by the time I got to the passenger side and it was like 11 o'clock, it was like, or 10 o'clock in the morning, it was like, oh my God. We were joking about it. It's not just that the air is 111 degrees. It's that everything in the yard is metal, so it's 800 degrees.
Yeah, you don't want to be laying on that floor in the hot sun on on trying to weld or do something like that, oh, it's like a furnace.
Sucked.
Like a furnace. That
Yep.
heat hits you. Imagine for the audience members, if you never experienced this, if you're working on anything metal outside in this sun out here in the valley, and you have to lay on it, touch it, it burns your hands. Picking up tools, if you don't have a glove on, will burn your hands.
Yeah, you'll throw it down pretty quick.
You'll throw it down pretty quick. Like,
I'm just gonna grab. Oh, Jesus! Where are my gloves?
Jesus. Yep.
Yeah, I did that today. That wasn't on camera though.
Oh no, but it gets you. You're like, ah.
Yeah.
And you leave it outside just for a minute or so. You forget about it. You go grab your wrench, you're underneath it, and you're like, ah.
Yeah. Then you burn yourself again. So it's good times.
Mm-hmm.
But for the differential thing that both of you guys were saying, I remember Mortsky, the guy in North Dakota, was talking about that as well, and he does a Mortsky's Minute where he, teaches you the history of this guy designed this and this is why, and then this other guy came along and he made it better and this is why, and okay.
Yep. The original hot rod rear end was a modified industrial rear end for what became the quick change. So the quick change rear end was a lot like the early three-piece rear axles that you found in heavy trucks. So, well, in all trucks, but Ford used to use them, Chevy, Chrysler, the Diamond Rios. What it was a center section that was round here, and it had a very large ring gear.
Yeah.
And then it had two tubes that bolted on to either side. But in the back, there was a drive shaft that came in, and you would put a gear here and then a gear here. And this top gear was the one that actually drove the ring gear. Well, the quick change rear end became a hot item for race cars because they would build the housings out of magnesium or aluminum. Have that same setup, but for a car. You could change out your gear ratio by pulling the back plate off and changing the two driving gears. So the one that was attached to the drive shaft, and then its mating gear that then drove a small pinion turn primary gear. You would get two gear sets, so you could go higher or lower by switching gears. And those rear ends, they were used circle tracks, flat trackers. A lot of race cars used them because you could pull it in. You could go in, do your testing, get your laps in to get your position on the start, and then if you didn't like what it was, you could pop those gears in real quick, right back out onto the road. It wasn't great for drag racing, but it was wonderful for racing because it was great for high speed.
Yeah, the right ratio, so you're flying down the street.
Yeah. You used to see the guys that really were cool would have some of those that had been retired from racing, and they would put them into their 30s Fords and their Model Ts and Model As because you could see it in the back. So you could see the quick change rear end, and it was, oh. Then they made kits. You could buy a rear diff cover to put onto a 10-bolt Chevy or a Dana that looked like a quick change rear end so that you could have that in your hot dog.
It always looks cool. I don't know. There's so many options. The junkyard crawl, the strategic, We'll get it done.
All right.
It's
crazy. It's crazy, but it's fun. But once you find out some stuff and the crazy stuff, the people that you meet, I mean, when you go through it and you look at parts and you find out, like, your eyes are open to it now. Then when you go through a junkyard, you go, oh, that'll fit. That'll work. Oh, that's close enough. That'll go. And before you know,
right. Yeah.
before you know it, you're all of a sudden, then you got to start, like me and Rob noticed, you start building that car in your head. Once you get to that point, good. Oh, that'll work. That'll fit. I can do this, this, and this. Once you get to that point, Bill, then you can look at a car and go, okay, I understand it. I can build it. I know what to do. and you kind of see a pattern with it. Because you'll take that 47, the card that you have, and you go, okay, that's this here, that goes here, that builds here. I can attach this now to. Okay, I need this clearance. Do I have the clearance? Okay, I need to do this, and all of a sudden you'll be like, holy crap! You're engineering it in your head.
Yeah.
You start seeing it like that, bits and pieces. Because as you take that Suburban apart, you learned about the chassis, the distance in the wheels. You learned about that. Before you know it, you'll be doing that automatically, visually taking and putting the car apart. So you're like, okay, the fender's right here, the firewall's got to be here. You automatically will start doing that, and things will fall into place. It's the weirdest thing to happen, but everybody goes through that, because then you start going, oh, I could see it. I could put this in. The fender's going to go here. This is going to go here. I need to run the line this way right here. So, and before you know it, you start being saying, "Oh, I know what to do. This is what I'm going to do. This is how I'm going to run it."
I'm so tired. I'm going to crash probably shortly after the show, and I want to get out there at like 4 or 5 in the morning, which means leaving here at 3 or 4 in the morning. So that, in reality, probably means 5 or 6 in the morning.
The stuff I miss is going to the junkyards when every junkyard looked like pizza. You could walk through with Dad and Grandpa and those guys, and they'd go, "Oh, there's a '57 Plymouth over there. Oh, there's a 1948 Ford. Oh, check that out. That's a '43 Chevy. That one's really cool." The only reason I know it's a '43 Chevy because it's a military vehicle and it's got 1943 plates on it.
Yeah.
And but you would go looking through it, and then my uncles would look at it and say, "We took the headlight bezels in front of that fender off of that Chevy, and we grafted them over onto this Plymouth. But see, then we got to take the hood off of the Packard over here. We're going to section it." Had it. And you started to learn that you could do all of this stuff. And in those days, it was, how much for the Packard? $100 for the whole thing. Yeah, okay. How much for the,
We just
not
have
anymore.
to get it home.
Oh my God! I remember the days of going in, and this was back when we were in high school, Bill. Back when my dad had the Monte Carlo stuff, we would go to the junkyards way down in Broadway and stuff. And when I was starting to learn to drive with the Chevelle, go out there and we would pull parts. Like when I got my wagon, I would go down there, find parts, pick and pull them myself. Me and my dad took the whole dash, a good dash out of a Le Mans that they were going to crush, but it had a good dash in it. And we went in and we pulled that sucker out. It was sitting up there going, "Oh, give me $50 for everything inside." Okay. So it's going to the crusher.
The guys used to build in those days. Used to have the door slammers at Manzanita.
Yeah.
You had the $500 claimer race, and the guys would literally go down Broadway, and they would go to the junkyards, and they would just. You knew the guys at the junkyard, or you let them know what you were doing. And what you were doing is you were pulling the parts you needed to get one that you could get running. And some of these guys would build the car the night of the race. They'd have it finished up, and they'd drive it down there and race it, because then you could go down and claim the car for $500. You could buy the winning car for $500. And, that was in the old days. You could get away with stuff like that. You spent $200 or $300, and you built the car at the junkyard because you got friendly with the guy that owned the junkyard. And he said, "Oh yeah, I just got a Chevy Impala in, and this one has a big block in it, and I think we can get it running." "Yeah, I'll take it." And come down there, put it together, take it right up the block, take it in. It goes through tech. You race. Somebody shows up and say, "Well, you won tonight. It's a claimer race.
Ta-da!
Here's your $500.
Yeah.
Sounds good. I just made $300.
Damn it! You're going to St. Mary's Food Bank tomorrow to work, aren't you?
Yep. Tomorrow is St. Mary's.
Oh, okay. So I can't kidnap you and get you to go out for the thing for a couple hours? All
right. No. I got St. Mary's tomorrow morning. And then, because Thursday night is the last Scottish Rite meeting for the summer. We go dark for July and August. We'll come back. I'll
too hot.
Still be doing St. Mary. What's that?
It's just too hot.
Well, a lot of the guys actually, go on vacation over the summer.
Good for
We got
them.
a lot of snowbirds in the Scottish Rite, and I've already got a couple of brothers that the only way I see them after March or April is when we have Zoom calls.
Oh, oh.
They're like, "Where are you at?" I'm in Nebraska. Kiss my butt. Okay.
It's 40 degrees cooler here. Yeah, I bet it is. Thanks. You don't
Yeah.
understand heat. You don't know heat. You're not from Phoenix.
No, my favorite is when I hear them say, "Oh, but we have humidity," and I go, "Well, you don't stay here for the monsoon."
That
So
week
if you want to talk
sucks.
about
Yeah.
humidity,
Or
when
it's
it's
more than a
when
week.
it's 115 degrees outside and the monsoon storm is coming, and so the whole day is like, oh, God. And then the
Everybody wants
storm
to
finally rolls
die.
in, and the temperature drops to 80 degrees for the time frame that is raining. And then when the rain stops, the humidity stays, and the temperature goes, hey,
Yes, screaming
let's
potato.
go.
You thought we were kidding.
Here's a little taste of what it would be like if you were somewhere else.
No, I'll repost the I'll repost the meme on the council one, but the best is the Kermit the Frog puppet drinking water that I posted a couple days ago.
Oh
Oh,
yeah.
we're in the summer now, so be sure to drink lots of water and stay inside from 11 a.m. to November 1st.
Exactly. I
Do that.
I'll
Just
never
do that.
forget when Grandpa passed. We went up to the ranch and we were bringing everything back. For years, all I had was one of those little swamp coolers on wheels that I could use in the shop. So monsoon season came, you couldn't be in the shop. If it was going to rain that day, couldn't do anything.
It's just
Grandpa
too
passed. We
awful.
went up, pulled everything out of the ranch, and he had one of those nice room air conditioners in the front room of the ranch house.
Ooh.
Nobody wanted to take it. I was like, I'm taking it home. Pulled it off, made a nice little rack. It sat on top of that evaporative cooler.
Oh.
So that made life wonderful. Boy, when summer came and the monsoon hit, oh, well, we'll plug that boy.
Switch that over and let's go.
And I
Let's
could
go.
be in the shop.
Right on. It worked. Screaming
That
potato.
improvise and overcome.
Yep.
You're screaming for me to pet you, but when I pet you, you don't want me to pet you. Make up your mind, cat.
Well, it's a typical cat. Hold me,
Okay.
love me, squeeze me. Just don't touch me.
Oh my god, what's wrong with you? Why are you putting your hands on my beautiful fur? I just did
You know,
this.
Rob, when you said that about Broadway and all the racers, that reminded me of a time when me and my brothers would go. Because back in the day, they would take cars to build for the race cars,
Yeah.
and they would strip them of everything. So if you wanted interior, like your Camaro Bill, back
Yeah.
in the day, we would fix up Firebirds and stuff. We would go down there, and they would strip everything out, and they would throw out good seats, good interior. How much you want for your interior? Oh, $80 or 50. Okay, and go there and strip the heck out of it and put it
Yeah.
into a car or sell it or whatever. Whatever car that they had that they were stripping to make a race car to do on the figure eights or whatever. You go over there and you hit them right. You go and you pick that car because they're just getting rid of that stuff. They're gonna toss it.
Yeah.
You pull the dash out and everything. You pull that and you stick it to other cars. And sometimes they were great interiors. They were decent interiors. You know,
You
the
look for
car
the
was so
guys.
much.
You always made friends with the guys who were either the Manzanita racers
Yep.
or the demolition derby guys, because they didn't want
Yeah.
any of that interior stuff. And a lot of times they didn't want the rear ends and stuff like that. So you could go down the guys that you look for the guys in the old days that were buying the Chrysler Newports, big Chryslers, because then you could get these great big Dana 60 rear axles that were 5 lug, and you could take them and you could just go crazy with that stuff. You know, you found, like I was saying, you could get beautiful interiors,
Mm.
get all the really nice stuff. But you made friends. That's why you hung out at the racetrack and you hung out at the demolition derby at the county fair and the state fair, because you wanted to know who these guys were. You wanted to be friends with them because the moment they were going to make another car, These were the guys that were going to get you deals on good.
Mhm. And back in the day, they were using Camaros like yours, Bill,
Mm,
that they were using for oval track and stuff, to kind of make a stock car out of it.
yeah.
So you would find Firebirds and stuff a dime a dozen. They would rip up the interiors and stuff. And we were in the Pontiac spectrum, so we would get a Camaro interior, same, just about same thing, and throw it in a Firebird and
Yeah.
stuff, and throw it into Camaro. Go there and their stores, and even my brother, there was one that what they were after they was gonna crush it or something. Something was kind of, he stripped the whole interior, the linkage, the 4-speed linkages, everything out of it. Just he goes, okay, you could take it out. It's going to be crushed tomorrow. Okay, let's strip it. And so many days of just going in there, just
Yep. Now the possibilities are endless. Like even now, it's like thinking about interiors and oh, you don't have to have it exactly the way it was.
No, it's easy to fit just about anything into just about anything.
mm,
That's, I look at some of those old trucks that he's got, and I think, you know what? He's got square box. He's got a square body Chevy that has been sitting out there, and if they're not going to use it for anything, front bench seat fits into any one of those old Chevys that are sitting out there. It makes a beautiful front seat,
Oh yeah.
and off you go.
Yeah. The 54 that I'm doing all the work on, it's got a black leather bench seat in it already. Leave it there.
Yeah,
I
mm.
think
yeah.
it might have been taken. He might have sold it.
Oh man, no. But
He's already sold the
Well,
hood and the bed, truck bed.
but see, the fun thing about that is you could take, he's got some of those little S10s that are out there. If they've got any of the higher end S10s with the electric power seats in them, you pull one of those out. It's depending upon the seat, it's 3 or 4 wires. Now you've got beautiful power lift and recline and sliding
Yeah,
seats to fit in the front of that truck, and off you go.
very true. Very, very true.
there's so much you could do. Rob knows it. There's
Yeah.
so much you
Well,
can do, so much you can do. You're like, oh
I
my
just
god, I could do this, I could do that.
I just need to drag you guys out there and then drag parts over to, well, like you said, it's too hot now, but we'll do what we can.
Yeah, we do what we can. We'll find out what it is and stuff on it. You
I'm
know.
gonna give it another try to get those. Well, even today, Pete's like, "Oh, just cut around it," and it's like that's what I've been trying to do this way. We don't need the body; I just need the roof. So things are gonna go a lot smoother.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, once you cut the body and stuff, it'll start disappearing really quickly.
Yes,
Really
yes.
quickly.
Well, that's the hope, and then to get it out of his yard is the main
The other one, huh?
focus. We got off to a late start. How you doing, Rob? It's almost 8 o'clock, and we're at 2 hours 37 minutes.
Yep. And this is my 10-hour day week.
Okay.
10 hours today. I do 4 10s when I do St. Mary's. So I take Tuesday off to go down.
Okay.
4 10s is the ultimate work day week
Yeah.
because then you have 3 days off. But yeah, I've got 2 12-hour shifts this week coming up, getting off at 3 a.m.
Yeah.
That's always fun.
Yeah.
Great. I'm too wired to go to sleep, and the cats are going to want to go outside in an hour and a half. But yeah, if you want to end it here,
Yeah.
or do you? Oh, okay.
Yep. That'll work.
Thank you very much for watching. Like and subscribe. We'll be back next week. Hopefully, Ron will be with us. He's was
Mhm.
he couldn't make it. He can't make it. We always want him. And you guys have anything to add? Like and subscribe.
Like and subscribe. Enjoy yourselves. Be good. If you're good, don't get caught. All the other platitudes.
And put your experiences in the comment of your car experience, your automotive detective works, and all the
Yeah.
stuff that you might have experienced.
Thank you very much for watching. Have a great weekend. You guys
Good night, everybody.
have a good night. I'll talk to you very soon.
Okay, you got it.